and in my chains. I am such a loner. San Francisco bases got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over. Lico, beast mode, 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 Lico, beast mode. This is not my main thing, really I'm a coder. Coffee stains and in my chains, I am such a loner. San Francisco bases got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over. Lico, beast mode, 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 Lico, beast mode.
Chat, what's up? We back for more coding interviews. Holy, running a little bit late, so I just gotta pop up with the first guy right away. How's the audio, by the way? If anybody here. Toby, what up? Thanks for tuning in. How's my audio, by the way? Keeping it real chill. Alright, audio sounds good. Perfect. Hey, David.
Hey, James.
How you doing today?
Good, you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Have we ran one of these coding interviews before?
No. First time.
Oh, nice. Cool. Alright, let me see what I got here. Oh, nice. You're from Calgary, huh?
Yeah.
So you're a senior at the University of Calgary with 3 internships at mid-sized companies and startups. Pretty impressive. You already did a lot of internships, so did 200 questions. Nice. How were your internships so far? Did you feel like you learned a lot?
Yeah, they were pretty fun. I got a lot of experience shipping features kind of from like start to finish,
Mm,
which is really nice.
nice. How are you feeling with the job hunt now that you're about to graduate?
I've started applying and I have a couple behavioral interviews coming up, but nothing solid yet.
Nice. What's your goals? Where do you want to work?
Um, I kind of want to try and get big tech and kind of see what it's like.
Mm,
So, yeah.
okay, so like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google type companies, Microsoft.
Yeah,
Have you applied to those companies already?
I have, but I haven't gotten a reach out yet.
I see.
So,
Nice. What about for internships and stuff? Have you applied to those companies before?
um, I did, but I also didn't get a reach out for an OA. Like I think the biggest one I got was a few unicorns from the US.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, good luck with trying to get in. Let me know if you have any thoughts on how, or if you have any questions on how to land those interviews. I mean, I don't know if I really have an idea. You kind of just have to apply and see where it gets, but I don't know, maybe looking at your resume or something, if you don't get any hitbacks, might be able to pull something together or improve on it.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Cool. I sent you a link to the
Yep.
CoderPad. How are you at LeetCode, by the way?
I think I'm getting a lot better.
Nice.
It kind of like started clicking more once I got to like 150, 180-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you really have to do that many questions.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said, yeah, you could see when I stopped doing leak code after I got a job. Yeah, that's how it goes. You could, if you look back in my 2021, you can see that's when I got a job. Or like this, look, 2020 I was grinding leak code. 2021 hit March, just cut.
Yeah.
All right, let's get it. You're gonna code in TypeScript?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. How can I test you today? So how are you with the different concepts? How are you with arrays?
Um, I think I'm pretty confident.
Yeah.
I struggle a bit with DP. Um, but yeah,
Okay. What about um yeah, trees and
I'm pretty confident with trees, I think.
okay, cool. All right. I'm going to start off with the first question. We're going to try to work Wait, I'm just curious cuz I'm also from Calgary, went to UFC. How's everything in Calgary these days?
It's pretty fun. I feel like the city's grown a lot in the past like 5 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Like
been
what's
fun.
fun? What do you do for fun?
There's a lot more restaurants and like
Nice.
Stampede's always fun.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I'm always there for Stampede.
nice.
All right. Let's get into the first question. We're gonna try to work through 1 to 2 questions. Each question is gonna be 20 to 25 minutes. Um, yeah, let's get some working code going.
Sounds good.
So this is the first question. Oh shoot, this is not how you create comments in
It's
TypeScript.
yeah,
All right, so we're gonna be given an array with n objects colored red, white, and blue. We need to sort them and in place so that the objects of the same color are next to each other in the order red, white, and blue. So we're essentially just given an integer array of numbers of 0, 1, and 2 and just sort it so the zeros come first, then all the ones, then all the twos.
sounds good. So here, like, I guess my first approach would probably just be to like just like use the built-in sort function. But since we can't do that here, um,
What would be the time
there's a
complexity of that?
it's n log n worst case
What
because it does
algorithm does it
a,
run under the hood?
I believe it's a quick sort. It's either quick sort or merge sort.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, I don't want you to use the built-in.
Yeah. So approach two. Um, so the quick sort worst time complexity is worse than the merge sorts, if I remember correctly. So that's the one I'm gonna pick here. That's cool. And yeah, I guess it's not really much overhead in terms of implementation details.
So you're
So
gonna implement a merge sort?
yeah,
Could you think of any other solutions, or what would be the time complexity for that?
um, it'll still be n log n. I guess another one we could do since we know the exact, I guess, buckets that we're going to organize into is a bucket sort. Then that could be O of n if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm. How would you perform the bucket sort?
Um, so we could do this in a two passes, where you basically have like an array where it's like a number of zeros, number of ones, number of twos, and then afterwards we could just write it back, like write it in place back into the array, which would be like O of n space 2, which is I think there might be a way of doing it in O of 1 or like with less space, but
So
yeah,
what's a time complexity in approach 3?
this would be O of n still because we're doing one pass to find the number of zeros, ones,
Yep.
twos, and then another one to actually write it. Yeah,
Yep. Yep. How
cool.
could we save on space?
Um, well, either way, like the amount of space that we're actually using is just like it'd be three integers at most, right? Or like which in itself doesn't feel like that much space. We don't even have to sort as an array. We could just keep them kind of individually. And then anything better than that. Um, I don't know if we could do something better.
Yeah, I like these three approaches, but I'm looking for a fourth approach where we actually the sort it in place instead of, because how would you generate this array afterwards? Would you just overwrite the values with the
Yeah,
amount of zeros? So pretend that those values are objects. I wouldn't want you to. I would just want you to rearrange the array, and those
yeah.
objects aren't removed.
Okay. So, hmm.
So basically, yeah, just sort it in place instead of creating a copy or overwriting the values.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, and would you want it to be done in one pass through?
Ideally,
Hmm. So I think this might work. Where like, let's say we have like this array,
mm-hmm.
we can like count the number of zeros, number like greater than zero seen. Oh, sorry. And then count the number greater than one seen. And then each time we write, we can just so let's say like here, for example, we start at the beginning. We see that there's a two. So we increment the number greater than zero seen by one. Same with the one for one. And then the next time we see it, here we see a zero. So then we know that we just have to shift by one to the left. And then I think we could potentially switch these back, like have them switch there, and then this would continue possibly. So then for the next two, um, but then I don't know how we bubble it up all the way up to the top, because we mm, this approach is kind of like almost like a bubble sort. Mm, let's see.
Orca, it's good. I just woke up too.
Oh wait, actually, will this work? So we have 2, 0, 2. If it's a 2, then we could just write it there. Then the next time we see a 1, well, here we'd have to increment it. So here'd be like 2 now. It's 2 for both of them. So now here we see the 1. And then we see that we've seen 2 numbers that are greater than it so far. So we can write it to the second index behind it. So then it'd be 0, 1, 2, 2. And then for the next one we see, oh, and then this should be also for the 0. And then here, once we reach this index, number greater than 1 is 2 so far. So we can also do the same thing one more time. So it'll be like that. And then once we reach 0, I think so we would increment this by 4 at this point.
Yo, Squid. What's up?
Once we reach the 0, see, but then we'd actually have to move everything to the right. We can't really just do or yeah, because then it'd be like that if we do the switch as we've been doing it so far.
Imagine, let's simplify it and just be like, imagine we only had 2. So it's just 0 and 1s. How would you sort it?
We could just keep track of the zeros or like number of ones seen. And then, so here it'd be like, we've seen like 1 0. I'd do this by switching the 0 first, just kind of like from perspective, I guess. So here we see a 0, we leave it as is. We see a 1, and we leave it as is. And then for the next 0, we basically just keep count of how many ones we've seen, and that would tell us where we need to write back. And then same for the 1. So, like, I guess you can see my cursor, right?
Yep, I can see your cursor.
So here we've seen 0 1s, so it'd be like nums at I minus nums, like nums at I minus like 1s seen is equal to nums at I. And then, yeah, we could keep doing that until we reach the number of ones seen is equal to like nums dot length minus 1 minus like the current index we're over, and then that would mean rest are 1s. That's kind of how I would do it, but
So numbers seen. So we're gonna keep track of the number of ones seen.
yeah. So here it'd be like 0,
Yeah.
here we've seen 1. So then here it'd be nums at, this is index 2, nums at 2 minus 1 is equal to nums at 2. And then be like that. And then we just keep going. And then this way we'd keep writing it. And then at the end, we'd actually have to append them all. But this is kind of similar to the first approaches seen here, where it's like, technically it's more of a, it's not really a switch, but it's more so just kind of like an overriding it. Yeah.
But it still counts as a switch if you're doing a switch. Well, if you actually swap those elements. Like if we did something like array 0 array, like this syntax. That's pretty much like swapping it. If you did it like that, like if you figured out how to which indices need to swap and then swap it.
Yeah.
One MX, what's up?
Let me see. I want to think of an example where it'd be like we're moving all of it to the moving all of it to the right and all of it to the left, kind of. Oh, wait, does that work? It'd kind of be like this approach, but here we were kind of storing it as like the number of ones seen and then writing it directly.
Was
I'm
good.
curious if we could just like do a swap like this, like kind of like how you showed.
You're from Cali?
like that. So we'd essentially be switching them all one by one. So here, for example, like we've seen ones, we've seen 1, 1, 2 ones, 3 ones, and then here'd be we switch it like this. And then for this one, it would increment again, and then we'd switch it like that.
Let's go back to your. Let's think about this for a second. Your one approach. I think keeping track of the number of ones is good, but what if we just keep track where the next one should go, or
Oh,
keep a pointer to maybe the next location?
that works. I guess is it not the same in principle? Like having like a writing pointer versus like,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
it's similar. Oh yeah, and then you just do the. Oh, you had this. Okay, I think
Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
does the number
Where
of
it's
one
like
scene would work? Maybe.
I I think it would here. I'm not sure how to extrapolate it to two, like 3 different variables, yeah, or like ranges. Um, would it be like a writing pointer for all the other 2 ones, I guess?
I mean, let's just actually just focus on like these two values for now, and then maybe we'll go to the third value. But let's try that approach that you're talking about. It might work when you come
Okay,
like number of one scene.
sounds good. I'll just make a function. Um, I guess I'll just call it like shift elements. And then I'll return void. Cool. Cool. So I'll do the yes.
Chat, that would work, but I asked him to just I don't want him overriding values. I want him to rearrange the array so that's in sorted order, and I want him to do it in ov1 space ov(n) time. It's very specific, but I want to see how he can work with pointers.
So if the current element we're looking at is
Ever
equal to
got asked
0,
multi-threading? Nope.
this is kind of like the
Maybe at a high level, but not to implement.
tr ones. Actually, I'll just do one count, ones count. I feel like it's more obvious for me. This is still fine. So if nums at the current pointer is equal to 1, then we increment this. And then for the actual write back for it, oh, does that work? Increase the number of pointers, else. So here it's 0. I'm assuming it's binary for now. Nums at ptr minus is equal to nums at reading pointer. So then this would shift it all to the right or all to the left for the zeros. And then originally I was going to write back all the ones afterwards, once we have the final count. But to actually make it switch, I think we could do this, where we temp is equal to temp. So what this would look like, it'd be like we have 1, this shifts here, and then this is equal to 1 for the next one. So the count of number of ones is still 1. So then this would then do, we store 1, and then we copy it over. 1. Move on to the next one. This is a 1, so we just increment it. So it'd move forward. So we're at 2. It would find 0, and then it'd be like, okay. Switch this one with the 1 behind it. Let me change this one here, and then that works. I want to try one more time where it's like worst case where we have to do the most number of swaps, probably. Even like I could that balanced. So we see 1, we increment it. Where we've seen 3 ones, so we move it forward. So it'd be 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. Cool. We move to the next one. We're at this index, then we copy it over. Copy this here, move this here. Move to the next one. 1, 2, 3. It looks like it works here. It'd be the same thing one more time. Cool. I'll run this real quick.
Yeah, running on a few test cases. Let's see how it goes.
0, 0, 1, 1. Cool.
Do like a massive case. Yeah. So how would you extend this to 3?
Yeah, so here the reason this works is because we know exactly how many numbers we're shifting by, because we know we keep track of the number of ones we've seen. I think we could just extend this by also having count of the number of 2s, so that once we actually find a value of 1, we can shift it by the number of 2s that we've seen. So 2's equal to 0. Cool. So then I guess I could just change this around a bit. If we see a 2, then we can just increment it. Also, if we see a 1, we can increment it, and then also we need to write. Change the else if. Cool. And then would be nums at. So it'd be this very similar logic to this. So it'd be number of 2s seen. Number of 2s seen is equal to the one we're currently viewing. And then for this part, instead of being just a number of 1s, it'd be number of 1s and the number of 2s. I think so. This would work. 2, 2, 2.
Let's work through a small example and see how it goes.
Sure.
Would you be able to dry run this on a small example to like 0? Or let me put the initial. Let's work through this example.
So here I'll just 2s, 1s. So we start at this index, we increment this by 1, we see a 0, and then we do nums at, this would switch it to 0, comma 2. 2, yeah. And then we'd move on to the next one, which is also 2. And then we would just increment this 2. Then we find the first one, increment it here, and then we do the right. So and this would be nums at this minus 2, which is this index. So then these two switch. And then we move on to this index. Oh. Yeah. So this would switch here and then here. And it would increment it. So now this is 2. And then for this part, I see. This would write it here, but it would switch it with this value. Yeah, which is wrong. And you want it to go in one pass through, right?
Yep.
Oh, I see what happens. Okay. So we have to do it so that it's like the first 0 mentioned, this first 1 mentioned, and the first 2 mentioned. So here, instead of arbitrarily going back by the number of elements that we've seen before, we need to switch it with the last one that's like greater than. So for example, for 0, we'd switch it with either 1 or a 2 if we don't have a 1 seen. And then for 1, we'd switch it with the latest 2 seen. If that makes sense.
We say it again?
So we keep track of the first instance, like the first index where 0, 1, and 2 currently appear in our numbers. And then we can switch it with that one depending on which number we're currently iterating over. I think that's the cleaner approach.
Not sure if I'm following.
So I guess this one works. I'll switch these two around though. So we keep a track of like first index of 1, first index of 2.
Yep.
So in here we see 1. And then we see that both of these are undefined, or like -1, whatever we want our arbitrary value to be.
Mm-hmm.
We find the 1 or the 0, and then we say like, okay, this needs to go behind all of the 1s. We can set this to the first index of the 1 currently seen. And then we have to move this somewhere as well. So then this can move up to where we're currently at. And then for the next one, so it'd be like, this moves here, and this moves here. We keep going. We see the 1, we see that we haven't found a 2 yet. So then we keep going. We see the 2, and that's fine, because we don't know if we reached, oh, sorry.
One advice would be, instead of highlighting, you could just like use a caret to show where your pointers are at. So if you have like multiple pointers, just so it doesn't disappear when you stop highlighting.
So first index of 1, second index of 2. So then this would go here, and then we'd keep going, and then this would be here. So then I guess this will be like the current like reading pointer, I guess. So here we see 2. We know it's not a problem because it's the greatest value.
Wait, let's say the first index of 1 is like 1. The first index of 2 is just 2. and we'll say
Yeah.
we'll add like another pointer, which is kind of or maybe we can add it over here where our pointer is going. So if we're going scanning from left to right, can you show me how this algorithm is gonna work?
Yeah. So here we see that it's 0. We see that there's no first index of 1 defined and there's no first index of 2 defined. So that means that there's no 1 or 2 before this that we've seen. So
Sure.
in other words, we don't have to switch it.
Okay.
So when we move forward,
Sure.
we see a 1. We know that we haven't seen a 2 yet. So that means we're still fine. We're still chilling. So when we move up to the next one, we see that we still haven't seen a 2. Oh, sorry. I need to move this pointer up. This is the 1 pointer. 2 is still undefined. We move this up. We find a 2.
Mhm.
And since this doesn't have any constraints on like where it has to be, right? We don't have to do any switches yet, but we move this to the first index where it's been seen,
Sure.
and then we keep going, and then we reach our like the second last index. It's still a 2. We don't want to move the first index of 2 because that's actually on this side,
Yeah.
and then we find the last element 0.
Okay. What's happening
So
here?
so when we find 0, we want to switch everything over by 1, if that makes sense, where it's like, okay, we put the 0 at the first index of 1, which is here. So it'd be, yeah, so it'd be like 0 goes here. We put the 1 at the first index of 2, which is here. And then lastly, the one that we just overwrote, this first index of 2 would go where we're currently iterating over, which would go here.
Okay. Wait, could you command Z like
And
3
then,
times?
yeah.
Okay. We're at 2
And
or we're at 0. Okay. But
mhm,
imagine we had 0. We had more zeros, and let's see if that is gonna break.
yeah. So now I'll update these values really quickly. So then it would switch the 0 to the first index of this. It would switch the 1 to the first index of 2, which is this, and then it would switch it over, and then we also have to update the pointers again. So the first index of 1 is now going to be the first index of 2 seen, which is 2. Or, sorry. Hold up, what did I do? I think this is where we were at, right? This is the base case.
I think. Wait, command Z one more time. Command Z. Yeah, that was the
Okay.
case we were at.
Okay, so the first index of 1 is going to be, oh, can we do that? I think the first index of 2, I think I'm not sure if we can just increment it. I guess we could actually. We could do a check to see if there's a number. If the next number is equal to 1, then we can set it to that. Else, we can set it to whatever we're writing to. So then here it'd be the first index of 1. We're currently at this one, so we switch this one here. We set this one. To update the pointer, we see if the next index is equal to 1. If it is, since it is here, we update it to 2. Then we do the second operation of switching the 2s accordingly.
Yo, Alpha was good,
And then we
man.
switch the
see
1
you.
to where the first index of 2 was. And then we move this one, the 2 pointer, to the next index if it was seen, which is 3. And then we write this 2
Alpha, how you been?
back here. 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. How is this? Oh,
Man, it seems promising.
yeah. I think I didn't
let's
update this pointer.
let's move over. Let's work on the second question now.
Sounds good.
So okay, I'm gonna just comment this out. So we're gonna be given a list of files that represent a directory or a file with like a full path to a file. I want you to print out the directory structure
Okay.
so you can see the directory structures: web app, assets, HTML. Under HTML, there's a.html and b.html. Then there's JS with C and then index. So I want you to print it like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you can print it in pretty much any order. But I just want you, when you print it, I want to be able to see the directory structure when you print it.
Yep. I think this could be represented really nicely if we do a trie tree, where like we have the root, which is like the file directory root, and then for each folder, it's a child, or like neighbor, I guess. I'll say child. And then we can keep storing them accordingly. And then every time we go one further into the, I'll format this better. So this is our root. Let's say we split this up, and we have web app, and then we have hello. And then under web app, we have assets, and then we also have index.html. And under hello, we have j.js. So then once we print it out, we'd basically be printing everything in every single level, all indented by the current depth. So here'd be no tab, here'd be one tab. And then for assets, b/js HTML. So this would be printed out in one more tab. And then here, this would be printed out as c.js. And then to make sure that it all lines up correctly, we can just explore this in a DFS instead. Does this make sense? Yeah, DFS makes sense because we want to write here. We want to write like this.
Yep.
Cool. Does that kind of sound like a...
Yeah, it seems promising. Go ahead and implement.
Sweet. Function. I'll split it up into two functions. Build tree given a array where it's a strings. And then we'll have another function which will be print tree. Like that. And now I think just to organize it better, we can probably put it into a class. I'll call this file directory. Structure. This will initialize our general tree. So then we'll have a root equal to some arbitrary node.
Mm-hmm.
And then each node will have a value. This works. Value, and then also a neighbor. I guess I'll call it child, actually. Child, which is composed of array of other nodes. Sweet. Structure, we pass in a value, string, and then we can do this dot value is equal to value, and then we can just initialize the current node's children to just be an empty array. Cool. Now we can do set children. When we recurse through this, I guess it makes more sense to do add children. Add children, and then we'll have child, the string, or what are add no. That should be add node. The child, that's a node, and then we do this dot child dot push child. Cool. Now for when we first construct it, this will be our fd file directory of type node, and now we have actually, I think there's a better way of doing this. I should make this a hash map instead, just to make the traversal easier.
What would be like what changes if you use a hash map?
It means that when we do so let's say once it's actually built, for example, we build web assets HTML, we build all this.
Yeah.
And the next time when we go look into the root, we see if we have a web app child, we get that node, and then we move on, and then that's like our current node. And then we do the same thing for assets. So make it an O of one lookup time instead of having to go through every single child and see if that's the one that matches.
Okay. Makes sense.
So I guess string to child is a map of type. String to another node. Cool. Just initialize it as a new map. Oh, yeah, there we go. Cool. And now when we add the node, just do this dot string to child dot set new child dot value new child. Cool. Okay, cool. So now for the actual file directory, we can do this dot file directory is equal to new node, and I'll just set an arbitrary value just for now. Oh, sorry, that has to be a string. I'll call it something else. I'll call it root. Cool. So now when we actually do build tree, given an array strings, we do the following. So we'd want to split it into, for each file, we'd want to split it up into like an array split by the number of dashes that we have. So then we can do iterative.
Yo, Chad, I'm getting hit with the craziest deadline right now.
List. Then
That's
first
why.
For const string.
I'm at to work every weekend.
Array. I'll call this something else.
Every Saturday.
For every single, I'll call this path. For every single path of the array, we can do let array one, let's split path is equal to path dot split, and we can just do it based off the backslash.
Bro, this one's actually crazy.
Now,
like they're giving us like a by October 31st.
You can just do iterative array dot push the path. Cool. I think we could have done this in place too, but this kind of splits it up easier. So now we have an array where it's like, move this down, web app, comma.
Bro, I hope that stock hits
assets,
800.
Comma HTML, comma HTML. And then we have another one like this. Cool. So now we'd want to iterate through our current root node, then add each one as necessary. And then if the current node we're iterating doesn't have the current child from the string, we can build the node and then set it up and then continue as we go. Cool. So now path of iterative array. How would I build this? Okay, yeah, I'd do this. I'll split this up actually, or else this function will be too big. We can do an individual build path. And then here will just be another string of strings path. And then this will be void. Cool.
So you're building the tree, you split. Okay.
Yeah. This doesn't even have to be a push. We don't need to push it anymore. We can just build it immediately. Yeah, we can just do build path. So build path. The split version. Cool. So now let iterative node, or I'll call it current node actually, equal to this dot fd, which is our root. For let I equal 0. Less than path at length.
Shit, there's a bug got in my house.
If current node dot str to child dot has true dot has the path at I, which is the current level. Private, I'll just change this to public just to make it faster. Cool. If we have the current child, then we can just do current node equal to dot get path at I. Not sure. I'll just, yeah, there we go. Cool. So if it has it, then we move our current node to the next one. Else, if we don't have it, then we have to add it. Keep moving down. Else, we just need to add it. Create a new child. So when we do constant new child is equal to node with the current path that we want. Cool. And then we can do current node dot str to children dot set the path at I. So that current string to the new one we just made. Cool. And now we want to move down. So then to move down, we can just do, just get it. Actually, it'd be easier like this. Current node equal to new child. Cool. So this will build it all out in our file directory. And now we just want to print it. Cool. So then, get rid of this. And tree. Cool. So now to print this, we want to do a DFS where we just indent, we console.log each value that we're at, padded by the current depth that we're in. So we can make a DFS function here. And just have a career depth number. This won't return anything. Cool. So now let's have a current node. Cool. If current node is equal to,
Here, let me drop down the volume on this guy. But yeah, what I'll say alpha right now is,
then we just return.
I don't know, like the bar for doing good. I mean, let's talk about this after this guy. Like, I don't have someone after this.
I think there's a nicer way to do this, but this works for now. Over this. Career depth. Does the tabbing matter?
Doesn't matter to me, really.
Okay.
You could just use like a /t or something. Would that work?
I don't.
Does it work?
I've never used it in JavaScript.
Okay. I think that would work.
Yeah. So we add the 2 dashes. Cool. Let's do. Yeah. And now we just append the current value. 0 plus current node dot value. Value is private. Make it public for now. Cool. So now we console.log this, print string, and then for const children equal this dot our current node dot string to child. So here we just want to get all the values pretty much. Dot, I think it's dot get, or no, actually there's a better way of doing this. For const, all right, wait, one sec. Let children map equal to current node get, sweet. For const key comma value of children map, we can do DFS over the child and career depth +1. And then lastly, we just need to actually call this function. So when we do this dot file directory, so this would print this would include the dot root. So then we can just do yeah, we can just like do COD for every single value. Well, all root is equal to this dot file directory dot string to children. Cool. For const key comma value of all root. We can just do DFS on the value, and the current depth should be 0. Cool.
Nice. Let's print it.
I need to call it first. Copy this.
Yo, Liam, what's up?
Input. Cool. And now we can just do let file directory equal new f2. Cool.
What was the
Now we can just do file directory
Never. Chris, what's good? Never really used types outside of React, so this looks so far.
Now we just want to do build tree. Build tree. The input.
I think we're pretty much at time, but I think like the code overall looks good. Let's get back into feedback session.
Sounds good.
How do you think you did? How was that first question?
The first question stumped me. Yeah, I think I overcomplicated the approach at the beginning. And yeah, I don't know.
Liam, thanks for the dono. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see my notes. I think overall you have a pretty good understanding of the different sorting algorithms. You knew to go to quick sort, bucket sort. You're about to implement merge sort if you had to, which is good. Like you're not worried about it. You knew how to do counting sort, which is pretty good. Some candidates don't know how to do count sort. Yeah, and you gave three pretty good approaches right away. That was pretty good. I think I could have probably let you go with approach 3 as well. But yeah, I just decided to let's go with the most I want to for you to get to the most optimal approach, which is O of 1 space and O of n time, and just swapping the elements around. So yeah, without like overwriting the values. So I think your approach made sense of just counting the numbers in ones and twos, but the cleanest approach would just be keeping track of where to place the next zero and where to place the next two with just a direct pointer. So it's like a 3-pointer approach. So if you come up to, can you see my cursor?
Yep.
So 10, 2, 0, 1, 0, 1, right? I would have a pointer for where my next one should go, or my next zero should go, and then my next two should go, right? And essentially, I pretty much just iterate from left to right. And if I see a zero, I throw it to the back in increment. If I see a two, I throw it to the front and then decrement. So if I see two, I just swap to 1. Right.
Oh.
And I see 0. Okay, swap 0, 1. Right? And I just keep moving. And the next 0 is supposed to be here. I see 0. I swap 0, 1. So I think that's why I was trying to guide you towards, instead of just keeping track of the number of ones and twos we've seen, because then we have to do some math, like it complicates things. Why not just keep a pointer of where the next 0 should go and where the next 2 should go? And when you see a 0, throw it to that pointer. When you see a 2, throw it to that pointer, instead of having to do that extra math step that could have complicated things. Right.
I have a question.
Sure.
Would this approach break down if you wanted to do 4 though, like 0, 1, 2, 3? Because then right now we're kind of writing to the beginning of the list and the end of the list, and then 1 is kind of converging to the middle, right?
Yeah, maybe it would break down with 4. I wouldn't know how to do it with 4. I'd have to think about it, but every solution would have to change quite a bit if you added a 4. Like I think your solution would have had to change as well if you added 4 different values. But the counting sort is good. But the one of like counting the number of indices of, or the first index of 1, 2, and 3. But yeah, I think overall, with this code, you can do the swap in one line as well. This is like sort of a nit, but you could, instead of creating a temp variable, you could actually just write it out like this in one line. Does that work in? Let's see. Does that? I know it works in Python. I think it works in JavaScript as well.
I'm not sure.
If you do something like this. I don't know if that's bad. Maybe. Actually, I'm not sure if it works in TypeScript. I would just look at it. But that's a small one. I think the biggest thing you could improve on for this question would just be working with pointers in better in the comments. So it's before you're like highlighting it and then saying where things go, but it's way more clear if you just have use the carets, and that way when you stop highlighting it doesn't disappear. Because I think when you start explaining it, when you started using markers in the code, it made things a lot clearer of where you're going. And did you notice that as well or no?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I'll have candidates a lot. They'll just be pretend we're just working with the array. They'll be talking about what index they're on by just highlighting it. Like, oh, okay, I'm at this index. Then I go here. Then I swap it with the 0. But usually what I do is I keep a marker somewhere here, especially if I'm pointing to an index. So I don't have to, or they'll also work with marker, or they'll also like store variables here, like num1, num2, and then they'll just be updating variables. But then you have to keep track of like where 0 and 2 is, and they have to calculate again, instead of just making a marker of where these variables would be. So I think that's just like one small improvement you could make to just convey your ideas a bit better through the comments.
That makes sense.
And then second question, you did really good. You just automatically figured out it's a try and were able to implement it, build out all the different classes. You never really had to look anything up, and the code looks like it would work. So yeah, no concerns about the second question. You're honestly pretty good with trees, and even for the first question, I would still say that's a pass. So overall, I think yeah, you'd move on to the next stage if you were to do an interview. You work pretty fast as well. Yeah, no real concerns. I think just for improvement would just be working with the carets or marker, like marking the code better when you're working through the like dry runs.
Sweet. So
Cool.
if you're ever stuck on an approach about like not being able to figure out what the complexity the interviewer wants, do you have any tips on like how to go about it? Like,
Or yeah,
would you straight up ask them for like a hint, or how would you go about it, I guess?
I would say like I would say like for this question, a lot of candidates were go to thinking of using pointers to do swaps a lot. So I think when you start, I think a lot of interviewers they already done a lot of leak code. So the more leak code you like now, you would probably go to thinking of pointers. You would probably get to this type of solution the next time around, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think yeah, like the way I was seeing it, the way I was thinking is that you never really work. You haven't done too many array questions where you're swapping elements or doing an in place sort like that. That's why I wasn't thinking you weren't thinking of using the pointers to swap them. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Or like your approach was a bit convoluted too. Is like I just never seen it, but like it was neat because you're able to figure it out. But you had to do that extra bit of math where you're tracking one scene and then minusing it from the index.
Yeah.
Like in an interview, if you didn't get to, I would have just let you do approach 3 as well. But for this question, a lot of candidates get pretty much go to approach, start thinking about approach 4. And when I've seen like people have commented this, like they got asked this, and a lot of them get pushed towards like a approach 4, because approach 4 is really the only approach where you're not overriding any values. You're doing it one pass, and you're doing it over one space. So it's like the most optimal solution.
Mm,
Because even with approach
gotcha.
3, if you do counting sort, then you're just overriding the values. So then like in the last pass, you're putting a bunch of zeros, then you're just writing to the array
Yeah.
instead of in place sorting. But yeah, I think it's just more practice of learn. What I just make sure when you finish a leak code question, understand all of the different approaches, because especially in fan companies, they'll want you to do certain approaches, and sometimes if you say an approach, they'll make you do another approach. Like if you say they like to know that you've done that you could solve the question in multiple ways. So even
Gotcha.
every time I do a question, I need, for example, at one fan company that I was interviewing at, they're obsessed with ov1 space. So basic calculator, right? It's a question.
Hmm.
You could do basic calculator with ov1 space. Then there's just this weird way to get it ov1 space, but they really force you to do it for some reason, which I don't agree with. It's annoying, but I mean that's just how it goes sometimes. I think yeah,
Yeah.
but cool. Any other questions?
I think. Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
So for fan companies, like, is it largely like you get the OA like guaranteed almost if your resume is good, at least for the first screening? Or how? What's your experience been?
Do company my experience is only Amazon really gives you a online assessment.
Hmm.
So Google, Meta, all those other ones, if they like your resume, they're gonna hit you with the phone screen first. And phone screen is an in person or over the phone, 1 to 2 leak code questions, just the initial technical interview. And yeah, they don't give that to everyone because yeah, it's like a live coding interview, so it's not scalable to just give it to everyone. So they'll just give it to candidates that they think will or that they want to eventually hire.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. Well, let me think about that first question you said. So your question was, how do I get myself unstuck if the interviewer wants a very specific approach?
Yeah.
So how did that feel on your side when I was asking you for this approach?
Um, I wanted to ask for a hint, but I feel like I don't know. I've gotten like different responses from interviewers. Like some are really willing to give a hint immediately. Others want to like see you think through it. And then yeah. So I wasn't sure if I should just like code up approach three and just kind of hope for the best, I guess, at least have a working solution, or keep trying to find out how to do the problem.
Yeah. Well, the good thing with you is you listed out all the approaches. So if you listed out approach 3 and you say, yeah, this time and space, and then you're clarifying with me, should I go with approach 3? Other candidates don't do that. That's why I'm saying your approach is really good. You listed out multiple approaches, and we decided to go on approach 4 instead of just going in and typing or not really listing out too many approaches. I think your approach of just listing out all the different ones and then asking me before we start even doing anything if we should go with that approach, and I said no, I'm looking for approach 4, which is one pass or one space. And I think you were making progress, right? Your solution, it actually might have worked with the counting the zeros and counting the ones and twos and doing the math to like counting the where the first one is and the second or the first two as well, and then doing all those swaps. It still would work. You're making a lot of progress, but it's just simpler if you just send it, like if you just track where where the next zero should go and where the next two should go, and look at the 3 pointer solution. I tried to give a hint a little bit at it, but yeah, maybe I could have pulled a little bit more. And I wouldn't really have docked you if I gave you that hint because you're already making your way towards that.
Gotcha. Cool.
But yeah, cool. All right, thanks for
Thanks
taking the
so
time out.
much.
All right, good
Yep.
luck.
You too. Bye
See ya.
bye.
Yo, it's already anonymized. Like you don't have to put your name into the coder pad. And if I ask you like questions about yourself at the start, you could just say very basic stuff. That's like you at the bottom you could put your name as like XXX or something. Yo, Cyclops, long time. Okay, let's get back to that conversation. Liam, thanks for the dono. So someone said they did a Google Suite intern OA 1 week ago and haven't heard back. Damn, Google's doing OAs. I did a Google and haven't heard back. Just wait, man. Everything takes a lot of time. No, I didn't raise speed, bro. I was just heckling him. There's literally like 2,000 teenagers trying to reach him. They're just yelling, "Speed, speed!" Holy, so funny. But he really shut down San Francisco. So many people came out to watch him, and he was all over. They had a helicopter following him the whole time. And all the news sites were running after him. For intern, people have already done their interviews. Yeah, I would say, Chris, just control what you can control. You did the OA, you submitted. You just gotta wait. Maybe you can reach out to people and see where you're at. Like, yeah, just reach out to people and maybe the recruiter. Yeah, you could try to be proactive in that way. But other than that, I would focus a lot of my time on just continuing applying to more companies, studying leak code. There's opportunity costs with spending time reaching out to recruiters as well, especially if you already got the interview and your resume is pretty good. So what's next? Oh yeah, Alpha, you were asking how good are people at with TypeScript at the company. I would say, dude, I haven't really met that many people who are really really good at TypeScript. Oh yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, well, I'll get your thoughts on it as well.
Hey,
Yo, Alpha, what's good?
hey.
What's
Yeah,
up, man?
not much. Let me get the stream. Yeah, I was just kind of curious, like what your opinion is of like how hard it is, compared to Rippling and other stuff. Because I feel like there's a lot of hype around most things. So kind of curious, how is it really? Is it as tough as people complain about, or is it just like people lazy?
Like the job at Meta.
Yeah.
I think every job, like no job is really, if you're trained for it, which
Hmm.
you'll have to be trained for it in order to pass the interview. You're not gonna do bad at the job. So I think when it comes to the one thing about working at such a large company like Meta is that you don't really need to know that much about TypeScript to get work done. Is because there's so much documentation and there's other code pointers of how things are done that you can leverage that because there's literally like 20,000, 30,000 engineers working on the same React code base as you, and you just implement similar patterns to them. And a lot of they make a lot of, so for example with most big companies they have a really good design system as well, and they literally hire teams to manage that design system and designers and engineers to just make sure that design system is good. So it's not that hard to build out products at companies like at big tech companies, I would say. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. So you're saying like you have designers for everything. You never have to really, like at my company, I have to design some stuff because like we don't have a designer. So you're basically saying a lot of it's already done for you. You can copy the patterns and then yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
How much
Okay.
how much do you like vibe code? Curious.
I try to vibe code a lot. I mean, the code base is so large and there's so much specific there's so many things that are too specific that it's very hard to vibe code. I feel like vibe coding is easy when you're building out products that don't have that much domain, that aren't very domain specific. But the moment that they're very domain specific, you need to inject a lot of domain specific knowledge into it. So pretend you're
Like
building
business
a
logic, you mean?
exactly if it has too much business logic. So pretend you're working on like a front end application, right? And the code that you're
Mhm.
doing really depends a lot. Like you really need to understand the database models and the relationships in order to implement that feature. So it's not the same as like, okay, implement this drop down form that takes in this basic types. If it needs to understand the relationships of the database and have more database knowledge and business logic of what's happening when you make an API call, like it breaks down a lot easier.
I see. Can you like feed that stuff in? Can you give it more like here's my database schema, here's like the things you need to know. Now go do stuff. Have you tried that?
Honestly, yeah, that's the good thing about having a that's the one good thing about having a mono repo, honestly, is because
Oh,
pretend I
you're working
want
in a monorepo?
yeah, Meta's like notoriously known for being a mono repo.
Oh, interesting. That's crazy. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That must be like insane size. Like, how long did it take you to like clone the repo? Like a day?
You'd work on everything on the cloud, and honestly the tooling is really good. I never really had to worry about like
Oh yeah, because they're like a bigger company. They have like probably really good like developer tools, all like already done for you.
yeah, dude, the tooling is actually insane and the tooling just works.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you
so
have to do a lot of or go ahead?
like this was my experience because I've worked at early stage to like a unicorn to like at meta level, right? So when I was
Hmm.
working at a very early stage startup, my team we so our team my team was a product team. I worked on a team called enterprise team, and the enterprise team we had to develop pretty much the suite of enterprise products that we would sell to banks. So we would have to work on the product specific features, but our team also owned the design system. So we had to build out the design system. So we had to build out the component. So whenever we had to implement a feature, we'd have to look at our design system. Does our design system have the components we need in order to implement this thing we need to get done? If it doesn't, we have to build that out, part of our design system. So we have to work with the designer to build out how it's going to look, how we're going to interact with it, build out the component, and then use it in our feature, right? But then we also had to
Yeah.
maintain the design system, and we had to, if anyone had issues, we had to also handle that, right?
Oh, interesting.
And
Yeah, yeah.
then
I feel like I'd be really bad at that. Yeah, like so you're making like enterprise components that other people can reuse later, and it has to be
there's
like super
it's
customizable and
simple
stuff.
stuff. It's simple stuff like we basically had to build out like our own forms, selects in the forms, like the different inputs, and some inputs get more complicated than others, but like we're like have you've worked with design systems, right? Like Material UI.
So I mean, I have done it in like personal projects. I know at Blend we have like enterprise components that we can just use that
Like
are like
who builds
already
that?
made.
Who builds that?
I think they were just done before I got there because we're like a 10-year-old company. So I made
Yeah,
one or two that like weren't there. So I think we had like a you have some like storybook or whatever that's like, hey, here's all your components, and then like you said, if you don't have the one you need, you go and build
exactly.
it. But like the one I built, I'm sure no one used but me.
Yeah.
So,
So
but yeah,
so like when I work on my own project, right? I just literally use Material UI because I don't care. I just want all these
yeah, yeah,
components. But then
of course, yeah.
every startup that I worked at, first off, some engineers are just so extra. Like I don't want this big ass bundle. Material UI is huge, right? That's like I literally tried to
Hmm.
import it once and someone spazzed. But they're like, this bundle is too big. I don't want that in the bundle, etc. And they want highly customizable. So they want the component to look and feel exactly the way they want it, and they want full control of how this component is going to interact, and and the themes
Hmm.
and stuff. And that's harder to do with Material UI without overwriting the crap out of Material UI, and you basically just lose all the benefits of using Material UI if you go that hard, right?
Yeah, and I heard also, I know when like Bootstrap was a thing, I guess I didn't work back then, but like everyone's using Bootstrap and everyone's stuff like the same, and they're like, I don't really like this, so I'm just gonna make my own. Because then, yeah, if ever, like, let's say everyone uses Material UI, like everyone's app's gonna look like the same. So that's what I've seen as well. Is like medium to big size companies all have their own
Yeah,
components that people can use. So makes sense.
yeah,
And then like the bigger, the more and more designers and more detail and stuff.
yeah. And Material UI is such a lot. Material UI is built as a general component library that their goal is to make a component library that anyone could use. So like 90% of those components you don't even care about, and 90% of the variations you don't care about as a company, right?
Right. But you want to make specific ones for the things that you do care
Yeah,
about.
like our design system was probably 10% of Material UI, but yeah, it served all the needs that we want. And then yeah, it
I feel like if you're
integrates.
like
Oh, go ahead.
really, yeah, I was gonna say if you're like like I don't know how early stage you were. I feel like if you're really early stage, you would probably just use Material UI and then you would switch to your own.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you're probably just swapping your code so often that like it doesn't make sense to make your own.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened when I first started. We were using some component library, and then we built out our own component library for some reason. I don't know who made the decision. I wouldn't have done it, but they decided to do it. So now we had to maintain. So basically, what I'm saying is like, instead of just thinking about just building out this product logic, I'm thinking about, okay, I have to also like maintain and build out the design system. And on top of that, everything related to the API calls and infrastructure of like the database, we had to manage that as well. And then when I moved to Rippling, they had not only just an infrastructure platform team, they had a front end platform team. So what the front end platform team does, and I've seen this at larger companies, is that they're pretty much they build out the front end platform. So what that means is they build out the design system, and they like offer it as a platform to everybody at the company, and then they manage all the internals around that, and you could just pretty much ingest or just like call in. They basically like you just have a Material UI team within the company. That's what
Yeah,
I've
I've
seen at
seen roles
larger.
like that. I've seen roles like that, and I was like, I would never want to do this for sure. That's
Yeah.
definitely. So would you say when you said like at Meta, like people don't know React, it seems kind of crazy. Like so most people are applying for like full stack product, right? So it's like 50-50 front end back end or yeah, I guess like
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy that they don't know like basic like React or like
Everyone
how
knows
React
basic
works.
React, but pretend you loading up the screen and you're switching tab or you're switching tabs, right, and just re-rendering. Can you go and debug why it's re-rendering? Can you go debug why there's excessive re-renders? Like that deep kind of thing, which doesn't sound that deep.
I see.
I don't know,
I
but
mean, I
it's
feel like that can be kind of hard if you have like this massive React thing, right? So to know exactly what's causing it. Like I don't think that's super simple.
okay. Like
Like
I'll
if it's
just
some small project, you can do it, but yeah.
yeah, I'll give specific examples. So like people would define React components, and then they'll have functions or they'll have like subcomponents defined in there as variables without
Mhm.
using like there's a specific hook that you can do that caches like variables inside. So every time,
Like use memo and use callback
yeah,
and stuff.
exactly, use callback. People don't really know how to use callback or use memo. So what's happening is every time you re-render, it's like recreating those components under like very little things like that, honestly.
hmm
And then
Yeah, I actually didn't think that matters a lot. Like if you do the use call, because I thought it only matters for like expensive stuff. But then I found out, yeah, I guess like for even that, like if you recreate functions and your repo is massive, then like it does actually matter. So
yeah,
that was kind of interesting. Like I was like,
yeah,
what does it cost to make a function? Like it's probably instant, doesn't matter. But yeah, I guess it adds up.
yeah. And if you're not properly, if you're like once you re-render at the top of the DOM, virtual DOM, right, it's gonna re-render everything underneath. So it could lead to like some
Oh, I see what
weird
you're
like
saying. Yeah,
it
yeah,
can lead to some weird flickering, right?
I see. Yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of stuff. But did they? I don't know what version of React. I feel like they made some new stuff in like React 19 or something. I'm sure at Meta they don't use like the newest React. So yeah, I guess there's like use memo, use callback, and then there's like React memo.
So yeah,
But I haven't used them too much.
honestly, debugging like weird re-renders and weird re-rendering is like if somebody could debug re-render and some are really hard, then I know they
Mhm.
really know React deeply, because knowing re-renders or when and how to stop it from re-rendering is like you really understand
Right.
how React is working. Like for example, at Rippling, I was working on like this one side navigation, and then it was such basically the side navigation when you would click into a specific tab, it would like put a loading screen on the side navigation. But that's never how you want the side navigation to work, right? Like you just want to be able to click through the side navigation and it just re-renders the content, but the side navigation never re-renders.
So you're saying like the sidebar thing, when you click on things, it used to have a loading in
When you
yours?
clicked into a specific one,
Hmm.
it would like it would throw a spinner, right?
Some of these have a spinner, right? Like you clicked on some of these and they have a spinner for a little while. I
But like the
noticed.
side nav should never
Oh, oh, the actual
re-render
side nav
this. Yeah,
itself.
exactly. So
Oh yeah,
pretend,
because it's static,
yeah,
right?
it should be static, but that's not really that trivial, honestly. Like if
Oh, I
you,
see what you're saying. So they probably put their side nav into something that re-rendered a bunch,
well, because
and they
like,
needed to not do that.
yeah, because this side navigation, when you work at bigger companies, it's gonna be dynamic, because they're making API calls to make sure you have permissions to some of the tabs, and they're
Mhm.
also making sure that some of your tabs, like you bought the product to have that tab. So, for example, Rippling and this like side navigation, they had all the different products like spend, HR, like benefits,
Oh yeah, so
etc.
they
Right?
weren't static. It's like they had to figure out like which ones can we actually show you.
Yeah, which ones can you show you?
I
Which
see.
ones you paid for, and within it, like which like products underneath did you buy, right? So this
Yeah.
navigation, it wasn't just static. You need to like make backend calls and figure out what you can actually have here, right?
So you
So
probably have to like cache those backend results or something, and then
exactly.
if the props are the same, then like don't re-render things like that, like the React memo thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So like in order to keep it static, you just need to be really smart about when you're making API calls, caching things and etc. And it's like if you click into another page that like makes an API call and updates the state, you don't want it to like update the state that's gonna cause this sidebar to re-render. So I mean, it gets complicated when it's like a large code base, right?
Do you
But
guys use Redux? Because then I think it gets even like more complicated where all the re-renders happen.
yeah, we didn't use it there. They didn't really use
Okay.
Redux. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
know we
that
use it, and then it makes it more harder to debug too, because you have like actions and updates all over the place.
yeah, that makes sense what I said there. Like of like,
No, yeah, I get it. Yeah, like yeah, there's a bunch of things you can do. I just always didn't know like how much is it worth, because you can like use callback and use Momo and like everything, and I was like, what things make sense, what things don't. Like obviously if it's some super long thing, but like where's the cutoff for like super long or whatever for when you should do
yeah.
these things?
No, that was gonna be my question back to you. Like, how important do you actually think it is to know deep React? Like, how far would it get you your job if you're a master at React?
My job currently not very far because I'm like 90% backend. So,
Yeah,
but if you were like I think if you wanted to go towards like senior front end engineer or front end leaning, then I think you gotta
exactly.
know it. Like I talked to some guy before, and I was like, yeah, I think like all the harder problems are like in infra where there's all these like optimizations and stuff. And he was like, nah, if you're like a staff front end engineer and you're not just doing like basic React apps and you have to do all this performance, that's complicated and not blocking the main thread and all this stuff, like it definitely gets very complicated and most people just don't know it. So then they
Yeah,
say like front end's easy.
yeah. So, for example, like you asked me initially, like, how good are people at React, and I said not really that good. And I think the answer really isn't just it's not because they can't get good at React, but I think it's also that like being really good at React doesn't really get you that far in a product role. I think if you really focused on the backend portion, like if you're product focused, like how the APIs work, how to model the data, how to build like very clean APIs and everything related to the backend, like how do you serve it really fast?
Hmm.
That's more important for product roles, unless you're really focused on like knowing really deep React is really important if you're building out the design system, for example. or if you're
Yeah.
working on a very front end focused role. But most of my roles
Or
is,
there's just like,
yeah,
go ahead.
I think most of my roles has been like business logic, back end, way more focused on the back end. Even my current role right now, it's way more focused on the back end.
Interesting. So when you're like a product role, do you pick like, hey, I want to be back end focused, I want to be front end focused, I want to join this, like when you were doing the team matching stuff, did you say kind of like what you were looking for?
No, I feel like most product roles, if it's truly a product role, you're not just gonna be
Hmm.
working on the front end, because most product roles, a lot of it involves back end. Like in my
Well, you said you're
experience,
like back end leaning, right? Like pretty heavily even now. So do you think just all product roles are like super back end leaning?
I think a lot of them are. So for
Okay.
example, like just look at Instagram. How much front end is even there on that Instagram?
I mean, I'm sure there's some, but yeah.
There is, but you they have 10,000 engineers working on Instagram. I
Yeah,
don't know how many engineers,
there.
but like that front end is very simple. But then people are are working product roles for Instagram, and it's not just, yeah, it's not everyone's working on stuff that the user actually sees.
Yeah. So would you say for the things you're working on, like who defines like what you work on and kind of like do things move really quickly? Like do you guys have like quarterly planning or you said you have this thing that's like has this deadline.
Yeah.
Who defines like what you work on and kind of like do things change very often or do you have like this is what we're doing for the quarter and we're sticking to it for the most part?
I would say things get defined by contracts, like you would probably know working at startups. Contracts come in, you have to implement stuff
Yeah.
to get that
It's
contract
like we
done.
have this client, we can't lose them. We're doing this. Yeah,
Exactly,
that's up.
exactly. Like Blend, I know you're big with Wells Fargo, right? Or
Yeah.
before. So
Yeah, if they
yeah,
want something, we're gonna prioritize that a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, different things like that. Also, dude, there's like 7 layers of managers ahead of me. Things get pushed down. So there's a lot of AI projects. They're trying to push a lot of AI projects. So a lot of that is top down, but execution is very bottom up of like, we just have this initiative, say we want to generate higher quality labels, and then that's just like it. A lot of it follows as OKRs. Okay, we just need to. Our model isn't performing well on X. We need to generate higher quality labels. How do we do that? And it breaks out into like a big ass initiative across multiple teams. Like this team needs to do this team needs to do that, etc. And like I just started, so all of the stuff that they gave me was already sort of planned out. But I'm working on some work streams that things just keep coming up, but it's just like a work stream. Like I'm working on like we're just trying to build a better labels. So there's a lot of like to train the AI. So there's just a lot of projects related to like getting those high quality labels.
And you said you were trying to get like on an AI focused team, so you're doing like AI products. I guess that's like most people are doing these days. Makes sense.
Yeah, just dude, there's like everybody has to work on, so like a lot of there's a lot of AI specific teams, and a lot of teams that did you see Microsoft? They pretty much like laid off every team that didn't, unless they like switched their focus to AI.
I honestly don't look at what Microsoft does. I think I said it before. I would never apply there. So
Yeah.
I did see a blind post by some dude that was like, "Hey, I worked at Microsoft instead of Google." And it was like a worse offer, but it was remote, so I took it. And then they like did the RTO, and I got really mad.
Shit,
So that
yeah.
was kind of funny.
Do
Um,
you ever use
but
Cursor or Claude at Meta? Well, there's an internal version of those.
do you think it's better? Or I mean, yeah, is it better?
Yeah, dude, it's so good. It's crazy. It's
Okay.
and they're just like it's improving so fast. Like since I
And
started,
I
I'm
heard
like,
they
holy
promote
crap.
it, right? Like they're not like derogatory about it, so they want people to use this stuff and get better at it.
Yeah, which I like that. I like companies who are very pushy on AI, because I've worked at companies that are on the complete opposite end where they're so adverse to introducing new AI stuff, and that's so annoying because I'm just trying to use all these new AI tools because I'm just trying to see how fast I could get with it, or I just want to leverage the new tech, right? Like the AI
Yeah.
coding tools is so fun for me, and I like it's so useful for me. So I hate when companies are gatekeeping that for reasons like, oh, I don't want to, like it's not producing good
Yeah, I don't know, man.
code.
Like a lot of the people that say like I can't do this thing, I think it's like a skill issue. Like you can if you know how to do it. Like I can do a lot with like the AI stuff. And I actually did like a course that was like building with like AI and like how to structure things out.
Yeah,
And so if you plan things out and give it good inputs and stuff, I mean, it's just like if you tell your friend, "Hey, build me this thing in like 5 words," even if they were like the best coder ever, like they're not going to do it because they don't know what you mean. So if you give it enough context and stuff, like I don't know, man, it's pretty good and it's getting better. So,
yeah.
but
Honestly,
did you?
go
Or
ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree
I was gonna say
100%.
like
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say like if people don't, there's people that like don't is there like pushback there? Do they like monitor like like I think we had some things that were like how much of your AI code is like accepted or something. That was like a metric we use. Like do you guys have that? Like how much of your code is AI generated, accepted, all these things? I
Yeah,
feel like those things aren't super important, but it's kind of annoying if companies are like, you need to meet these metrics for like AI tools or whatever.
like I think the thing at working at a company like Meta is it's super data driven, and they just have so much people working there where data, like at a small company, the data won't make sense. But if you have 40,000 engineers that you're collecting data on, the data is gonna make sense. So it's important to track all of that stuff, like how much they're using AI tools, how like they can, if they wanted to, if they have the system set up, they can literally have a really good understanding on how AI will affect productivity, right? And
I
the
see. Because they can get data very quickly because they just have so many people. Where at a small company it might take you like a year or 2 years to get enough data.
yeah, like also, have you seen like this MIT AI report?
Now,
MIT State of AI Business. Like, oh, where is this?
do you guys get to use like I know for like Cursor or whatever, you can pick your model. So I usually have a decent model. I think that makes a
Yeah, it's
difference.
exactly like
Do
Cursor.
they let you do that as
Yeah,
well?
you can pick, and they have different
Okay.
modes coming soon and stuff like that. But for example, or like this paper by MIT, they're saying a lot of companies they're setting AI systems up, but the ones that achieve the best results from the AI systems are ones that have a positive feedback loop. So, like I thought I've been thinking about this a bit, and what does that look like at a company, right? So I would say
Hmm.
like a good feedback loop when it comes to deploying AI models is of like putting it into Cursor, and then just having being able to in like what does Cursor do? I think one of the main things it does is it just lets you add context a lot easier, and it just has like it's before Cursor, you would have to copy and paste all the context into ChatGPT, and that was really annoying,
Yeah.
and it would miss.
Well, not only that, you couldn't because it was multi-file. So the multi-file search is like the thing that made it way better. Like if you can only give it one file of info, it's not very good in a big code base because you need like 10 files.
Exactly, and it would just break down a lot, like way faster. But now with Cursor, you could just add context so easily, and it just like you can just add files. It embeds your whole code base, so it could like inject logic, the context
Hmm.
windows. So there's the context portion, right? Like
Yeah.
context is king. Like there's the context portion of adding context to drive better inputs or better outputs. But then there's what Cursor actually does, but or like what really makes their business good as well is they're gathering data on what you accept and what you don't accept. And that's really important because that's going to fine tune like further iterations of the model or fine tune further iterations of their product, because at the end of the day, they would they really want you to never like dismiss or reject their suggestions.
Yeah, I feel like I accept a very high percentage. If anything, I just like I'll accept and then I'll like roll back, but I definitely accept a very high percentage.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just kind of know questions to ask pretty well.
Yeah.
So most of the results I get are pretty good.
But like,
Yeah, definitely before. I know we had like Copilot, and I just didn't use it. And then copy pasting into GPT. I think the other big thing that Cursor helps with, not only like developing but like onboarding. Like, would you say it
mm,
helped you a lot? You know, you do this like, uh, you look at this meta like you said monorepo, and before it's like you had to go through it and figure out where like all these things were. Do you just use like Cursor for that now? Like, hey,
yeah,
give me like summary of all these things, and it speeds it up a lot.
yeah, yeah, 100%. But I think,
Yeah, like I feel like that's really that's one of the most useful things people don't really talk about is like onboarding and like searching for things.
yeah, like at your company, I don't even know if you're allowed to talk about like how do they actually like track how many PRs and how much code, how much is actually being generated by AI? Like how do they track your productivity quantitatively?
I don't think we track PRs or that. We do. I know we track that like percentage of AI code accepted. I think they're going towards, and that's just like bigger companies doing it. I don't know if it's good or bad. Like if a company's tracking like how many PRs you have and like trying to set quote, like I don't know if that's even good. Because then what ends up happening, like I know my friends at, yeah, I guess I won't mention what company, but like a big company, and they started doing this, like track your number of PRs and stuff. And people are just like, all right, well, you can track my PRs, I'll just make more PRs, but they're not going to be very good.
Mm,
So I don't know if it's like good or bad to have these like quotas enforced,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
hard to say. But for us, we don't have that yet, but I think we're planning on it. So, but we definitely haven't had like a review that's like, this is how many PRs you had and you need to be here or whatever. We haven't had any of that.
I see. Yeah. Maybe they just didn't show you because like in my previous companies
That's
also
true.
they would just like the managers would pull up a distribution of this is the average number of PRs that people are pushing. This is the complexity of the PRs. Like you can gather like at Rippling they did that. So you could ask your manager specifically, where do I fall in the distribution for shipping code? They'll be like, oh, you're below average, above average. Really, you need to be. They're just looking for anomalies. People who like are way under at the distribution, not pushing code, they're gonna take a deep look at. Like as a manager, you want to be alerted if your employee is not pushing code, right?
Yeah.
But then you
But I
also
guess if
want to
you're like
be
a little below average, it's okay. But if you're like, a few deviations above or below, then those are like probably there's something wrong. Either there's
yeah.
something wrong or you're just like massively overperforming, which they want to know. So,
Yeah,
okay.
like pretend people are shipping code. Like there's a normal distribution to it, maybe 4 like diffs a week, right? Or even I
Hmm.
don't know where they track it, maybe a month. But like if somebody's only shipping 1 diff a week and most engineers are shipping 3 to 4, like you wouldn't want to fire them right away, but you want to figure out what the case is because at the end of the day you're an engineer, and it's all going to be team dependent as well. But that's why, like, yeah, you'd probably look at the distribution when it comes to like maybe all the people doing similar work and look for
Hmm.
anomalies, because it also helps you find high performers. Because I've worked at companies when they don't look at that at all. So someone's shipping so much code, shipping so much features, and they're not getting the love that they deserve. I'll just feel so bad for them.
Yeah, I feel
Cause
like for us, we're kind of in like survival mode, maybe. I don't know. So it's kind of both ways. I feel like if someone's underperforming, it's going to take a while for them to figure it out just because we're like shorthanded already. Like they're not going to get fired because like we're already shorthanded. And the overperforming kind of the same way. Like we have too much other stuff to worry about, like who's overperforming. I do think though, a lot of people left because they weren't getting the love, I feel like. So definitely makes
yeah,
sense.
that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
the main issue that I'd be looking at. I wouldn't care that I'm like letting people stay that are underperforming. I would more care that
Hmm.
people who are actually doing great work don't actually get seen, because that
Yeah.
is what can ruin your company, and that's from my experience what I've seen like slows companies down.
Yeah, I
It's
feel
like
like as an engineer, the way I see it is like if you do really good, you kind of make this agreement, and I've seen this in a lot of like interviews. It's like I'm gonna do really great work for you, but at the same time, I expect to have that work recognized. So if not, then it kind of feels like almost like a communist system where it's like, well, what does it matter what I do? Like I'm gonna get the same as everyone else. So like my motivation is kind of gone to, like obviously you want to build and stuff and it's fun, but yeah, definitely you want to be like, okay, well if I do great work and like no one cares, then like is this the best place for me? Definitely
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's extremes of it's way too data driven, but I think at a high level,
Right.
knowing the distribution of like how fast people are shipping code, and just making sure that like the people on the extreme ends are like who's on the extreme end, like who's not shipping code at all, and then who's like shipping way above average. As a manager, I'd be interested in that. And as
Yeah.
like that I'm pretty sure that gets enforced in most
I feel like
companies.
also for me, like if I was doing something bad, I would want it known like instantly. Like the first manager meeting that my manager says like, "Hey, you're doing something bad," I would want to know that like immediately because it gives me a ton of time to fix it, as opposed to the PIP thing where what I heard is like if you're on PIP and they tell you to fix it, like you're basically fired
Yeah.
unless you're like the best person ever. So at that point, it's like too late. So yeah, I don't know if that happens or how you've had conversations with managers, but my ideal situation would literally be like, all right, if I'm doing anything bad, tell me immediately. I'm not going to get upset, but I just need to know immediately.
Yeah.
And not like you're doing good, you're doing good. All right, you're on a PIP.
Yeah.
So
I mean, most managers, if they're a good manager, there should be no surprises at all. As in, when you get your performance review, you would know where you're gonna land on that performance review.
okay.
If there's any surprises, the manager's not being a good manager, or you're just not discussing things correctly or bringing things up.
Yeah, so you would say like they would kind of hint to you the things you're doing badly already beforehand, and you kind of know you can kind of like guess your performance review before you get it. It's not like I thought it was a X, but I'm a Y. Like this is
Yeah,
totally weird.
honestly, I've never had that, but like every time somebody got fired, they would just say that we had multiple performance conversations with this person, like a bunch. So I
Yeah,
think,
and I feel like that's pretty fair, right? Like you let them know they didn't do anything. It's like okay at that point. But yeah, from what I heard from the PIP, like I watched that one interview with the Amazon VP with the one guy, the staff guy from Meta who does a bunch of interviews, and the Amazon VP like basically told everyone like, yeah, if you're on a PIP, it's 3 months to get another job. Where a bunch of other people were like, oh yeah, I'll get out of it. And he was like, no, because if you're on a PIP, I also heard like if you're on a PIP, your manager has to find someone else to PIP over you. And because they tell you're on a PIP, you already kind of build that like bad relationship because they tell you you're on a PIP, so it's kind of hard to recover. So yeah, it's literally just like, all right, I have 3 months to find a job. Sounds good.
yeah, like
So that was kind of interesting.
they have data on how many people survive PIP, and it's pretty low of people who actually get put in PIP and survive. I forget what the number
Hmm.
is. So it's so low to a point that I've also heard I've worked at companies where they just don't want to PIP at all. They'll just fire you because they say it's like their reasoning was it's like it's nicer to just fire you because putting someone through PIP is just torture because you know that they're not gonna make it out of PIP. Usually, like the performance improvement plan is like they have to like work like hell just to get out of that PIP, and it's just bad on both sides, and you just end up firing them. So that people are just like, oh, I'm just gonna fire them, no PIP.
I mean, I feel like it's good for the engineer because it's like I got 3 months of paid, work that I could get to look for a job.
It's
So I
true.
think as an engineer, it's a positive. But yeah, I can see how like if they're like, okay, well, we're gonna fire you. And I think we don't do. I mean, I don't know, but I think we don't do PIP. We just fire immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Honestly,
but
I never got close to getting PIP, so I don't even know what that's like.
we had layoffs, and I was the most entry level person there, and I was like, all right, well, if someone's gonna get laid off, I wonder who it's gonna be. Like, I didn't think it was performance based. I just thought like we have a decent amount of layoffs, and like I'm the most entry level person, so naturally it's gonna be me. But yeah, I ended up not getting laid off, I guess. So,
Yeah. What causes someone to
lucky.
go into PIP? Like, how many warnings do you get before you get one? Alpha, you want to answer that first? Like, from your experience?
I mean, from what you made it sound like, people will kind of hint at it a lot, right? And yeah, honestly, all of my manager reviews have been positive. So they're either like you're meeting your expectations or exceeding in every area. I've never had a you need to do better here, like and hint hint, you better start trying. I don't know if you had that, but I've never had that yet.
Yeah, I never had that, but like I'm just trying to think about it from a manager perspective. How would I mention?
I think I would hint at
Okay.
it or let people know like a few times. You know, like, hey, you're lacking a little bit here. I'd like you to improve in this area. Because I feel like if you put people up on pip right away, then that's not good. So I feel like I would let them know a few times, like what
I don't think
areas
that's
I want to see
fire
improvement in.
material though. Like I wouldn't fire someone like, oh, like I think I would start bringing up a lot. Okay, pretend we just worked a whole half, and I said, okay, let's build a narrative for what you worked on this half, right? Or this quarter. Like, what did you actually ship this quarter? And some people didn't ship too much in a quarter, didn't ship in a half. And pretend you go into, like, you ask all your team, and like you could easily find people who have no narrative for what they did in that quarter, or they really have to make it up. I think that would be like a red flag. So pretend I ask you, Alpha, like, okay, what did you actually accomplish this quarter? Would you be able to say it?
This quarter, yes. But also, I feel like as a smaller company, we pivot a lot. So a lot of times it's like I start working on thing A, I get 30% done, and then they're like, okay, well, we have this one customer that wants thing B, now go to this and pivot back to this. So you end up being kind of like unproductive because you're pivoting back and forth. But I feel like that's pretty justifiable, right? Like I was doing this thing, then you guys suggested I switch to this, so that's what I'm doing. So I got some of this done, then I got some of this done, and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely feel like, at the very least, you want to have like I don't know if like excuse is the right word, but kind of like a reason for not doing stuff. If you had stuff and you didn't really have to pivot and you just didn't get a lot done, then that's kind of harder to justify. But also, I think we've been lacking in like formal performance reviews. We've been very casual about it, and that's why I feel like I don't have the most experience like in that area, I guess.
Yeah,
Or
I
it's mostly
think
just yeah. Go
as the
ahead.
company gets bigger, it's gonna be way more formal, way more quantitative. So
Right.
yeah, when I worked at early stage startup, it was very informal. Like tell me what you did and just have something listed, and it's so small that everyone gets a pulse for who's lacking and who's not lacking. But when the company is
Yeah.
large, you can't just you it's not fair to just make a guess based on what you think that person did or not. But at a
Yeah.
small
There's
company, you
also
know who's doing good or not, honestly.
there's also I heard this from like my PM, and I heard it was kind of true. There's people who can like talk a lot but not deliver. There's people who deliver a lot but don't talk a lot. So you might think the people that are performing a lot are just like really active, aren't actually doing anything. So yeah, it's definitely good to have like metrics.
Yeah,
I
but
feel like I would do really well in the system where it's like, here's my metrics and here's how other people's metrics are, and this is where I need to be. Because then it really tells you like, all right, this is exactly what I need to work on. Where if it's informal, it's like I feel like at Blend, I didn't know for a very long time, like, how am I actually doing? Like my manager says I'm doing well, but like, does he just say that to everyone? Like I don't know,
just go on
It was very
GitHub and
difficult.
look at your PRs and compare it against like other people. How much are you shipping? I mean, that's the smallest unit. That's kind of like the most a top like
Easiest.
as a engineer, as an early stage engineer, your job is to ship code most of the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, especially if you're like entry level, mid level, right? It's not like you don't have these crazy requirements. It's like ship code quickly, mistake free, like have good PRs, do PR reviews. That's basically it. Like you don't need this like cross team crazy
Yeah,
impact. Like I heard for like higher levels, it's a lot harder to judge people's impact because there's a lot more things you do outside of just like shipping code.
yeah,
But for early stage, it's literally just like how fast do you ship, and that's pretty much it.
yeah.
So
But like honestly, okay, pretend if I was working a startup, I would capture all the data. So if I had Zoom as my vendor, I had Google Drive as my vendor, I was using GitHub, I would pull in everything. I would pull up how much time are they spending in meetings, how many Slack messages have they sent, how many how many documents have they created? Because you can get access to that if you have the Google Media or the Google, like they have access to all that data, right? And then like how much GitHub commits are they doing? So
mhm.
I would factor in all that data, and that helps build a better picture, quantitative picture of like how they're performing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
that
like
makes sense.
if you're just like looking at someone's GitHub PRs, that's not the best thing. But if you pull in all the data, how much time they spend in meetings, like if you're working on, if you manage like the like pull in the Sentry or the PagerDuty, like how did they resolve data, or sorry, how did they resolve on call issues, right? You can do that pretty quantitative these days.
How would you do that? So like I know on call for us is pretty big, and you know your level depends a lot on that. And it's like, did you just unblock the person, or did you have a long-term fix? You know, there's like definitely varying levels of results. So how would you quantify that? Like with like, because for PagerDuty, right, you just get an incident and then you hit like accepted, resolved, whatever. So how would you have that quantifiable in terms of
Yeah,
like the impact you
it
had?
really depends on how you structure your, like I like the way that they structured it at Rippling, which is like you have your pages, right? But then anything that comes in from a customer would be in we had like a Kanban board where there's like a column for triaging, column for like working on, and column for completed. So if somebody had an issue, like a customer issue, we would create a task there, and then they track everything, man. Like time to triage, time to completion, all the comments are under there too. I think with all of the AI tools, you can really get a sense of like all everything that you did in order to like triage that issue is there.
I see. Yeah,
So
we
it's
kind of
like
have a similar thing. So we have support people and then they make tickets and then, but usually basically the on-call engineer takes all the tickets and then they're responsible for every ticket that they got. Like we don't do this. Like I know another person I talked to, he basically said like, so if you're on call, you get tickets, but then when the next person's on call, you like transfer all your tickets. So people get into this habit of like not finishing them and just transferring them. Like for us, it's like, if it was yours, it stays yours unless the manager thinks it's better for someone else. So everyone's always going to do all of their tickets assigned to them. So you
yeah.
have to do some like deeper, like, okay, how hard were they? Like, how long did it take them? Like, what did they do? Yeah, maybe with AI, it would be like easier to see these things.
Okay, but do you have okay, I had this at one of my previous companies. We had dashboards of how many things were getting opened and closed on a weekly basis, so you can pretty much track down directly to the person on call. So every handoff we would look at, okay, how many on call tasks were created that week? 40. How many were closed? 30, right? So you could see
Hmm.
big gaps if it you could kind of see like how fast people are on call and what gets carried over. So if someone had like 20 but they only solved 5, like we track opens and closes on a like bi-weekly basis. Does that make sense?
I see. Yeah, so we, right now, we have like one on-call person's doing a billion services. So it's kind of hard to get everything done. I think the problem we have is if we think a ticket, like we've investigated and there's just not, it's like not worth it to do more, then we close it anyway. So like all of our tickets, solved or not completely, we still close.
Yeah.
Um, so
That's
then it
fine.
would be like hard to say,
That counts though
you know,
because
and
you
if we think
triaged
it,
it and you
okay,
know that it's not an
yeah.
issue. That counts as closing it. For example, like
But then basically,
customers,
but,
or go ahead.
or go ahead.
I'll say
Yeah, I was gonna say
customers.
so, or
Oh,
you go ahead. You go ahead.
okay, yeah, customers would like maybe they see an issue that the issue doesn't actually exist, and we just like doesn't exist, can't reproduce. I mean, sometimes it's BS, like you just didn't try, but that still counts. Close it.
Sure. Yeah, if it's like a one-off and you're like, look, the time it takes for me to investigate this is too long and it's not important and I have too much other stuff.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is like, so for the on-call engineer, they're going to close probably 100% of the tickets that were opened all the time. Either they looked at it or they deemed it not important or whatever it is. So the metric will essentially always be 100. So I
but
don't
you
know if
just said
it's like,
they did. You just said like they transferred over to the next guy, like they're reassigning
no, no, no,
people.
no, no. That was another company. We don't do that. Like
Okay.
if it's on you, it's on you unless the manager thinks like, hey, you know, it's on you, but this other person's working on this feature and it's their stuff, then they'll like transfer it over.
Yeah, yeah, that's how we do it too. But I had companies that when when it's your week off, you transfer it to the next guy, and that's annoying too. Like
Yeah, it
just
seems
doing
really
your work.
bad because yeah, because basically he ended up saying, and this was a bigger company, he ended up saying like So people just like took a long time and just transferred over all their crap, and it was super annoying because like, you know, a lot of people wouldn't. I mean, then you could definitely get those metrics of like who's doing stuff.
Yeah.
But if you have to close all your own stuff, then it's like a lot different. So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Okay. Squid.
So basically, go ahead.
Squid Kid plays ask a question. What exactly do Swedes do on a job? You want to answer that, Alpha, first? Like, what Swedes actually do on the job? Do you build UI buttons, etc., or do you make API databases, or do you work on AI stuff?
Yeah, so I'll say like it depends on your role, but let's say you're like a full stack. So typically you have different parts, right? You have on call, which we talked about. You have like, yeah, so let's say on call and like feature work, and on call is like bug fixing or making things better. And then you have feature work, which is like, I have this feature I got to make. How do I split it up into tickets? And then how do I do these tickets? And then for full stack, you kind of work everywhere. I know for some companies, you don't really do full stack. Like maybe you'll just do like front end and APIs, but you won't do database. The smaller it gets, the more then you're literally doing everything, right? If
Yeah.
you're talking about like smaller company, you might be designing components, making front end, back end database migrations, and doing infra and like Terraform and like whatever. But as it gets bigger, it might be more specialized. And as far as like AI or whatever it is, it's like it depends on your role. So in a role, there's like X amount of things you have to do, and then yeah, it depends on the project basically.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Squid. Like, to make it simple, like Swedes, the job of a software engineer. Why does a company hire a software engineer? Is because they want them to build software that they're gonna use. So I think if you just think about it in isolation, like I'm building this UI button, I'm making this API call, that's not a good way to think about it and navigate your job as a software engineer. Because if you're building that UI button, that's usually a part of a big project that's happening. So you should understand why you're building that UI button and the impact it's going to have. Everything you work on, you should know the impact of what of why you're doing it. So for example, if I'm bringing a UI button, but that UI button is actually a button because we need to add like a new feature, maybe like a new AI chat button. Like that's the reason why you're making that button. They're never going to tell you just make this button or make this API. There's usually a direct reason, and it could be tied to a very specific new product they're going to launch, or it's tied to a very specific contract. So a lot of the times that's how work gets figured out. Either there's a contract, there's an initiative, there's a bet that they want to make. They break it down further into actual tasks that need to get done. So for example,
Yeah.
when they're building out the LLM, right? They have they like the North Stars. I want to build this large language model, right? Like I want to build GPT-5, GPT-6. So now you need to break it down into what engineers do I need in order to accomplish this? Oh, I need engineers that are scraping data and formatting it for me to train my LLM. Well, I need people who could actually build the architecture of the LLM. Maybe I'm adding like new components to the LLM that don't already exist. So somebody needs to know PyTorch or TensorFlow to build that new component, right? So you're finding all of, oh, I need to pretty much have like a loop to train the model and like gather statistics as we're training the model to see that it's like getting like improving as we train it, because you always want to optimize the model, right? So you just like the leadership thinks of where we need to hire people, and you just start hiring people for those specific jobs. Oh, like when I have this model, I need to build a UI to serve this model, or like for people to interact. So we need to hire someone. This is what the UI is going to look. So, oh, we need like backend people to build the API layer to serve response requests and responses, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think really commonly now, like people are doing Sui, but because everyone's doing these AI products, people are hiring people that are like skilled in AI specifically, because like people are learning it from Sui, but they want people who are like a little bit more details. So yeah, curious for your role, are you using like PyTorch, TensorFlow, or anything, or are you basically just doing full stack, but you're also working with like LLMs?
No, I don't work on PyTorch at all. I think you just
Okay.
need PyTorch if you're actually if you're an AI researcher.
Mm-hmm.
Like the people who use PyTorch is very
Like AI
limited.
researcher, like MLE or whatever.
Yeah, even with the MLE, I noticed a lot of MLEs just work on product specific features related to machine learning.
Okay.
So what do you really need PyTorch for, right? Like if you're actually working on the model.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I was taking those classes for like ML and like reinforcement learning and all that stuff, I don't even think those things were a thing. Maybe they were, but I was doing it all like just with your own like linear regression, making your own equations stuff. There weren't really these like things you could use, I guess, to make it all really easy. Because this was like in 2017 or something. Maybe they were out already, but they weren't super popular. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe just for classes they just wanted you to learn core like machine learning like concepts and whatever. So
Yeah. Like have you ever worked with like Keras or like
no, like almost all the stuff I did was like you make your own model and you run it on your computer. And I
yeah.
remember it took a long time. Yeah, you also didn't have things you can run around. So it's like people had these like what's it called? What's it called? MacBook Airs, and they took forever. And I just had like this monster PC I was running stuff on. So they would take like an hour and I would take like 5 minutes, and it was kind of funny. Because
Yeah.
anytime you had to make a change, you like ran the thing again and it would take another hour. And I was like, all right.
So
Finally the advantage of a yeah. Go
the
ahead.
way that these AI models are even designed is they also build out abstractions like we do. So pretend I want to build a like just like a dense neural network, right? With like
Hmm.
certain layers. I want a convolution net layer. I want just regular dense net layer, right? So like I only really need to know TensorFlow if I want to build a specific layer, but then I'll just build an abstraction over that layer where you can pass in like how many nodes are in that layer, like how like different parameters for that layer. But for example, if I want to build like a like, have you ever worked with Keras? Like building like a
No,
dense neural network? Like you pretty
no, I
much just
haven't.
say
But you're basically saying there's like a lot of abstractions for all these things where you don't need to know it all. You just give it some
exactly.
stuff.
So if I'm building a transformer logic, right, or a transformer like a big LLM, like
Hmm.
there's attention nodes, right?
Hmm.
They just need to somebody needs to build that attention node, and then other people can use that attention node, like using like a very clean API, the same way you would use a React component. I want this attention node, or I want this dense node with 30 layers, or sorry, 30 nodes in that layer, right? And I want another one with 60, and and then you just make abstractions to even just connect them. But then at
Yeah,
that point, you're not really working on PyTorch. You're working on like you can even do that in Python.
yeah. You're basically just like it's like calling an OpenAI API essentially. Like there's already this abstraction built for you. You just have to like use it.
Yeah,
You don't have to like build the whole thing yourself. So
yeah.
yeah.
Like if you look at the LLM architecture, you'll see that they break it down into different parts. They're like, this is a dense node, and then this is a tension node, right? And those just like teams like the way that I would do it is I haven't looked into how they would do it, but like people should just like focus on building those attention nodes and building API for you to easily use those attention nodes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cause like
And
pretend I'm build
nowadays, like
yeah
most yeah, I was gonna
or
say
go
like most of the AI products are literally you're right. You just like call out of the box solutions, APIs or whatever it is you need. You're not like building the things yourself. So yeah.
yeah. For example,
Yeah,
like yeah, if you're looking at these architectures, like all these different nodes, there's different nodes within the architecture that feeds into other ones. I feel like you could abstract those.
I see. Yeah, I'm gonna say like I'm not super familiar with like LLM structure. I think most of my ML stuff I did was like classical. It was like before LLMs. So you basically just build your own like linear regression or like forest or whatever, some other stuff. And then you just have to learn like probability formulas and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. Like pretend I'm working on like building on an LLM and I have to keep thinking about the math. Then it would just slow me down. But what if like all the math, like I can just build my AI up with
Components that exist that do the math for you
that do the
already.
math for you, right?
Yeah.
So the lowest
Yeah, I
level is
mean it's
just
the
literally
same as
doing the matrix multiplication. Then you could add an abstraction on
yeah.
that you just it does it under the hood and you just call in. Like you
It's the
could
same as front end, right? You could have the same example. Like if you had to do front end, but every component you need, you had to go and make one, it would take forever, right? Like you have to make a button, you're like, all right, I need to make an enterprise meta button now, or I need to make an enterprise meta form. Like these things would take forever, but because they already exist, the components are pretty fast because you're just like, oh, I need this thing, I need that thing, whatever. Let me throw those things together, and then I'll just
yeah.
focus on the business logic. I don't really need to worry about the design.
Yeah.
So yeah, same
Like
kind of thing.
like
Makes sense.
I read something where the whole industry operates on like every person only has to worry about one or two levels of abstraction underneath their role. And that's how they operate. For example, if I'm an application engineer, the abstraction I'm working with is like literally the front end, maybe the back end, and then maybe how the APIs or like maybe a little bit of the infrastructure, right? But pretend I'm working on the infrastructure. Like I'm building out the infrastructure, right? I'm working on AWS like S3. I have to think two levels under that. I'm thinking like you know what I mean? Like if you think about the layers of abstraction, everyone kind of works one to two layers of abstraction at most. Like I don't have to think
Yeah.
about the network layer, the OS,
Yeah, I
on
was gonna
tapping
say
the
that. Yeah, the
OS.
network, OS, like all these things. Yeah, you just have to know like it's there and I can use it. Yeah.
Like I don't have to think about like the CPU and the transistor, right? But like somebody working on CPU needs to understand two layers under them to do their job well.
Yeah. That's why I talked to some infra people and they were like, the nice thing about infra is there's a lot less abstractions. Like you're actually building the solutions. And then for product, it's kind of like plug and play. Like a lot of things you use, you kind of know how they work, but you don't know exactly. So it's just like here's this thing, you can use it. You don't really need to know exactly how it works, but the infra you do get like more, I guess more because it's like lower level, right? It depends on like how low level you go. Yeah, if you do like compilers or whatever, then you probably have to go like super low level. But
Yeah,
yeah, it
exactly.
definitely makes sense. You don't need to know like yeah. I mean the LLM is a classic example, right? You don't need to know like exactly how an LLM works to use it. You just have to know like what are the good things, what are the bad things, what are performance bottlenecks, things like that. But you don't need to know exactly how it's made.
Exactly, yeah. Like there's definitely certain roles where you need to understand the math, but it really depends on your role. Like you can be a successful software engineer and not even know how a computer works, I think.
For sure, especially these days. Like if you're like a web developer, most people don't, right? There's a lot of bootcamp people that don't have a CS degree. Like I think the CS degree stuff, they teach you like the core whatever, but you don't need that stuff for most things. You don't need to know like how do CPU cycles work, and like how does a CPU go from different things? How does like CPU architecture work with like whatever like assembly? I forgot what those things are called, like not transistors, but whatever those things are, and like the instruction set and all that other stuff. Like I honestly don't remember most of it.
Yeah,
Like that stuff
imagine
is like you don't need to know how any of that works.
exactly. Like imagine how unproductive a software engineer would be if we had to worry about all the abstractions all the way down. We need to know not just the back end of, or like not the just the product layer, but also like the network layer, then also like the server, the computer, how that's all working, and making sure that's good. Instead of
The
just
OS, like all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, instead of just assuming, or instead of just being given good APIs to just interact with that layer and not have to worry about what's happening under the hood.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like most jobs. You don't have to build like everything you do from scratch. Like things are given to you and you just have to know how to use them very well. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess the last question I had for you before I go, because it's kind of been a while. So, like, what's your performance thing looking like? Like for Meta, how long do they give you to onboard? When's your first performance review? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my performance, like I'm having a performance review probably at the end of the year. Usually they give you 6 months to onboard, but they kind of just threw me into the deep end. So I
Mhm.
think I don't need. They say that they're gonna give you 6 months to onboard, but like all the new people so far just got thrown into the deep end. So I don't know how true that is. But I think right now my performance is probably just average, maybe slightly higher, but I think average. I think for me, I
Okay.
figure things out pretty fast when it comes to like how the system works. But like for me to go above, I've worked at companies where I got hit a 5 out of 5, as in like highly exceed expectation, and I was working like weekends 996ing just to get that, and I'm definitely
Mm.
not doing that these days.
Yeah. So would you say your goal is kind of like figure out where you're at now and then maybe try to hit exceeds if it's not some like insane amount of work? Because I know at Meta, I think Paul showed me his thing, and one of them is like defines expectations or some random thing.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
the five
yeah,
out of
this is
five.
probably yeah, that's probably the 996. So I guess you're not looking for that one. So maybe try to hit like exceeds if it's not some insane. Would you
Yeah,
say like do you think I mean, I guess it's like if you don't hit meets, then you're like pipped, right? So, but if you hit meets all the time, then also you have slow like promotion cycles and stuff. So, kind of depends what you want. Like, do you want like a normal promotion cycle or do you want a super fast one? I
I
also heard they
want.
don't do like the super fast promotions anymore. Like it's way harder now,
Yeah,
no matter how well you do.
like my goal is to perform well enough. Like I don't I want to my goal is basically to exceeds. And my strategy for exceeding changed now where I feel like putting a solid 8 to 10 hours a day is the way I'm going to succeed. So I try to work 8 to 10 hours a day. But like some people don't work 8 to 10 hours. I remember a lot of people work 6 to 7. And my main focus, so like my thesis right now is like if I work 8 to 10 hours a day and I do like deep work, like no distractions for at least 6 hours of that day, I'll be able to perform really well. So I think I'm just doing just enough to hit exceeds, and that's like my goal. I think there's diminishing return for me to go highly exceeds because it's not my own company. So there's
Hmm.
other areas that I could focus my time on, but I definitely want to exceed expectations. That's always my goal.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. If you're like at a Series A, you might be like, all right, I'm gonna slow down with the YouTube and I'm just going like all in on this thing. But because Meta is like not your company,
Yeah,
like
well, like
the
yeah,
redefines thing is like seems yeah, definitely there's diminishing returns, might burn out as well. I
yeah.
mean, honestly, 6 hours of no distraction work seems really good because like you have meetings, you have lunches, you have all this other stuff. It's very hard to have no distractions. I guess you're hybrid now, right?
Sort of. No, I have to work 3 days a week in the office. Does that count? This hybrid? Yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
hybrid.
I
Yeah.
forgot.
So would you say how would you compare your productivity for in office or out? Everyone's saying in office is better. So what's your take?
Dude, like 3 days is perfect sweet spot. 2 to 3 days is perfect sweet spot. It's important to get into office and talk to some people. Some things will move faster, but honestly, though, probably it depends on how you communicate with your team. Like there's a lot of friction working remote that could get handled, but then yeah, there's also the opportunity cost of like you're getting distracted in the office. I would
Yeah,
say
you definitely get distracted. Well, I would say you get distracted remote. You're watching like Netflix or Twitch or whatever. Who knows? Because you're remote. Like, do people have like random like YouTube videos or whatever in the office so that you see? That'd be kind of
I
funny.
don't really see that, but like what I'll say is like most companies are probably tracking everything you do.
I see. Okay, so you're saying like if you're doing that, they might know about it, so it's on you to it's a personal decision. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe watch it on your own phone or bring your own laptop that they're not
Well,
tracking or something.
yeah, like well, every company they're tracking what you do, so they're gonna know if you're performing better remote or not remote. And some companies are publishing their data and they're saying that people are not performing better when they
Ah,
work fully remote.
so do do you think they can like tell you specifically, like, hey, you're not performing well remote, so let's get you in office, or you're performing better remote? You know, if you want more remote days, feel free. I wonder
I
if
think
that's
they'll
going to be a
probably
thing. That'll be
bring
interesting.
it up. How I seen this in real life is somebody was not performing and they were just missing all their office days. So the manager told them, it's like, I think you're not performing because you're not coming to the office. You should come in. You can ask questions faster, all that. So they would kind
Oh, I
of,
thought I thought it was mandatory. Like for you guys, like maybe if you miss a couple, it's okay, but you can't just like miss them all, right?
yeah, you can't miss them all. In most companies, if you'll get in trouble and you'll get notified right away. So if you start missing in office days, your manager is gonna get an email. You're gonna get an email, and it's gonna be a pretty scary email telling you that if you keep doing this, you might get fired.
Yeah. Yeah, like I heard if you're like sick or there's some emergency or whatever, it's cool, but yeah. Are you I heard most people hybrid is like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in office. Is that what it is for you?
It doesn't matter.
Or
It's
do you get
just
to
three
pick?
days. It's you just get to pick, which I like. I don't want. I hate those companies that enforce the specific day. So it's like you
I
have to
see.
come in 3 days, and it has to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Do you try to coordinate with your team like the people kind of have days so then when you do show up people are actually there or not really? There's just enough people it doesn't really matter.
No, I don't really coordinate with my team because sometimes I don't like the projects that I'm working on are not in the regular work stream of the team. Like I got like ring fenced into like a very specific project that need to get done. So
I see.
most of the team's working on one thing while I'm working on like this other specific project. So it
Does that
doesn't
happen
really
a
matter.
lot? Like, does that happen a lot at Meta where you do things outside your team scope a lot and like they pull you into other teams or something?
That happened to me
I'd
a
say
lot
for
in my
me it's very
career.
rare. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I don't
Is
know,
it
maybe
mostly you volunteer or are they pulling you in?
sometimes they pull me in, sometimes I volunteer. Like I've had situations where like this one specifically one time there's this other team, right? We were working like when I was working at the first startup, they were building out this new cash flow underwriting project. And one of the engineers left and I saw that the project was behind. So I literally just messaged the CTO. I was like, I noticed like the last engineer left, project's a bit behind. Like just let me know if there's anything that I could do to help get it. Because I wanted to really work on that project and understand it because I thought it would help me better with my job. So I specifically asked to get
Mhm.
on that project and he put me on that project. So I would get loaned out to different teams a lot. But then like
Yeah, I feel like.
or go ahead.
Go ahead. You can go.
Well, I was saying like and then like when I yeah, a lot of times it would be like teams or there would be a project that is high priority, but then all of a sudden it can't get the we can't hit the deadline, so they need to pull someone in. So I would like literally volunteer for those, because I feel like that's where you grow the most. I always look for those opportunities where something's on the line or that there's high pressure, because I think the like I always find those to be the most impactful and like the funnest projects to work on. So that was
You've
mostly
done
my
a lot of that?
strategy.
Did that happen a lot at like companies you worked with? You had these deadlines you had to hit, and they were high stress?
We talking about how to grow. Yeah, yeah. We're just talking about yeah, like a lot of. So for example, yeah, I always another part of it is a little bit selfish where like pretty much when you take on these big high priority projects, then you don't have to do a lot of like the annoying team activities. Like
Ah, fair. You're like, I have to do some like email migration or whatever thing I really hate, so let me just participate in this other thing. And then when my team's like, what have you done? It's like, yeah, but I'm working on this other thing, so like I don't have that time.
yeah, like
And also, good resume bullet point, right? You're gonna get a
yeah.
lot of questions like, how have you gone above and beyond? And a lot of people don't have an answer, so you have a lot.
Yeah, like even at Rippling, I was put on like some projects that were like they weren't specific to my team. Like for example, one of the things we were doing was we were taking our big product, which like Rippling is all in one product, right? You can sell insurance, you can sell insurance, you can sell like the spend product. They have like 20 different products under Rippling, but they're all tied up into the same like they were all very like interconnected. We couldn't sell them as a standalone product. So for example, if I wanted to sell someone just the spend product like Ramp does and compete against Ramp directly, they need to also buy into the HR. They need to also they'll also be getting travel, right? But we wanted to like be able to grow our different verticals independently. So I pretty much was just tasked to taking our insurance product and turning it into like a standalone product so that we can sell it directly to people and they don't have to buy into all the other products. So
I see.
I pretty much got like ring fenced into that project. And the good thing about that is like everyone knows not to bother you, just like heads down coding this thing. And I find that like so that's what I mean. Like I didn't have to deal with a lot of the annoying team day to day stuff where I hate. Like I mean I even got like off call some of the times like yo this project is like they need to take you off
This
call.
is huge. Too
Yeah, we have
important.
to hit
I
this.
can't be doing on call. Sorry.
Yeah,
I wish I could, but
Like, oh, I can't review that right now. I'm like, working. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a dick move. Like, I hate doing that, but like, I like just having clear projects like that.
I mean, we have something like that where one person on our team is working on LLM stuff. I don't think he volunteered. He got pulled into it, and this is like our highest prio thing, because everyone's trying to do the AI thing, and he's just like, every one of our team meetings like, sorry, working on LLM stuff, and it's like, honestly, it's a really tough project, and he's mostly the person doing it all, so it's not like he's just doing it, to be a dick or whatever.
Yeah.
So totally understandable. I had a similar thing where I was working on some other project for another. It wasn't even a team. It was like I was just doing this thing myself, and then all these people kept asking me stuff, and so I was like, yeah, I'm doing this thing, but I also have my team stuff. And eventually, I kind of actually got pulled off of that because our team was shorthanded, and then our PM was like, yeah, hey, this person can't really work on this because we're just super shorthanded. So, he can't just like keep doing these things and all these other things we got to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess kind of works both ways, but you definitely get that ownership. You get a ton of ownership and growth and stuff, and you do get those stories, especially if you participate, especially if you volunteered. Like, yeah, how have you gone above and beyond? I feel like that's
Exactly.
really big, especially for startups. I think startups really want to see either a high impact project or you kind of just like going all in and not just like doing the 9 to 5,
Yeah.
because that's the startup culture. So makes sense.
And I get bored of just working on the same thing over and over.
Yeah, I feel like that too. So I think someone asked me before, like, hey, your career is like you did poker, you did med school, whatever, you did tech. Like, why aren't you going to leave tech? And it's like, I feel like tech's like 10 fields in one. Like, you can do so many different things that like there's no need to leave. And it's interesting to like learn new things and, grow and like work on different things. And yeah, I feel like working on something for 10 years, even if you're like really good at it, I would just get bored. Like once it's not hard, then like what's the point? I feel like. So yeah.
Yo, Alpha, okay, there's this question that says, I'm kind of cooked. I got a sweet intern interview at Google. So they have a Google coding interview on October 15, 2.5 weeks from now. How would he prepare? I'll let you go first on that.
Honestly, yeah. I would say people asked this stuff before, and like I've done a lot of leak code, and I feel like it's the same answer as the PIP. Like if you haven't done leak code and you have an interview in a week or two and it's tough, you're just cooked. Like your best bet is to delay. Like you can get lucky or whatever, but I would delay, and like there's always the chance that like the job gets closed, but like I think the chance of you passing with zero prep, and if you have an interview in 2 weeks for Google, if it's any difficulty at all, like you're just cooked. So that's what I would recommend, is like you kind of have to prep before you get the interview, and if you just start when you get the interview, like just delay as much as you can is like my advice, honestly. I don't think anyone can pass a Google interview if they haven't done leak code in 2 weeks, like unless they just get super lucky.
So how long do you think it would take a beginner to get good at lead code?
I think if you don't have work, you can probably pass a Google interview from 0 in like a month or 2. Like if you're just doing only leak code. And
but that's very deliberate.
If you have a job, it's going to be longer. Very deliberate, yeah. Like
training every single day, like 5-6 hours a day doing leak code, or?
Yeah, like I went from not doing it at all to basically passing Google, I want to say in 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had a Google tech screen roughly 3 months from when I didn't do it every day, but I think it was actually 4 or 5 months after I started, but I didn't do it every day, so I got to condense it to like 3 months. And I passed the tech screen, and I think I could have passed the on-site. Like, obviously not 100%, but there was a non-zero chance. So I would say, like, 1 to 2 months if you're going super hard. It also obviously depends like how good you are. Have you done coding before? Like some people pick it up faster than others. But I think in 2 weeks from zero, no one's gonna pass unless you're just super lucky.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Unless you have a ton of work experience and you're just good at coding already. But if you're like a college student, then I think there's like no shot.
Yeah, I agree. So if you only have 2.5 weeks and you don't know anything about leak code, there's a very low chance you're gonna pass that interview. The main thing I would do would be push it out. I would push it out the latest
Yeah.
I can push it.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, I want to prep and I just need more time, and literally get as long as you can. If it's like a month, month and a half, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if you're like the job might close, like the chance of the job closing versus you failing is way higher. So
Yeah. And I think it's important, like time, like we can't just say 1 month is going to take you 2 months. I think it's all about how many questions you solve too. Like your first 100 questions, I think after you solve 100 questions, there's still probably a 60% chance you're going to fail the interview if you only solve
Right.
100 questions, because you just haven't seen that many questions. You probably just solve like the basic blind 75 questions. You understand some of the basic questions, but they usually ask way more advanced.
yeah, Google's also tough. So it depends on the company. Like Google's one of the hardest. So if it was some easy one, you might just like you can definitely if it was like a startup, uh, you're just like I'll just hope they ask you some easy stuff and like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Google, like there's always going to be a non-zero chance you fail, but I feel like in 2 weeks there's like a 95+% chance you fail.
Exactly. I would say, yeah, I would just focus on like what, like lowering the percentage of failure. So I think if you were to solve 250 to 300 questions, you would have a very low chance of failing. So I would
Yeah.
say, how long will it take you to get to 300 questions, or at least 200? 2 to 3 months.
Yeah. I also like learning the topics, and there's like I don't know, 8 topics or something. So it's just so hard to rush all that in like 2 weeks. And I feel like even for me, like, I'd like to think I'm pretty good at leak code. Like, I don't know too many people better than me, but like, if I had a Google onsite, like, there's still a non-zero chance I fail. So it's just going to be a lot lower than like someone who's done less. So it's all about, yeah, just like you said, reducing your chances of failure to as low as possible.
Yeah.
And then you can figure out like is a higher probability of failing delaying or just taking and failing. And if you haven't done any, I think delaying for sure is way better. And there's not much. I mean, maybe you could study the Google tagged or something, but how many questions is that? Like 500? Like I don't see a point there.
Yeah. No, I think what you also said there is very important, where you study topic by topic before you start doing company specific questions. So for example, this guy, pretend you only had a month, and what you did for the month is work on Google specific questions. Like that's not that efficient, because if you don't know all the underlying patterns, you don't know the common data structures, you're going to be approaching each question in a different way, and it's going to take you forever to get through that list of 100 questions.
Also, if they ever do a variant, like I know Meta does the variants, or if they ask you one that's not on there, you auto fail. So there's a higher chance of like you studying the topics and practicing and like getting one you haven't done and like figuring it out than just memorizing solutions.
Yeah. So if you can push it out to October 13th, this is what I do. I would spend the first 1 to 2 weeks actually learning the underlying patterns, like coding patterns or topics. And then the next 2 weeks after that, I would just sort by frequently asked and just start knocking off those questions. When you're like 2 to 3 days, 4 days out, I would just start straight up reading solutions.
Yeah, that's the other thing. If you can't solve a question, like if you're stuck for longer than like 5 to 10 minutes, I would start seeing what like you don't want to spend 4 hours on a question. I think I used to do that when I started, and it's like not very good. So nowadays, if I can't solve it in like 10 minutes, like if I get stuck, then I'll start reading.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like for example,
I mean, honestly, ideally you have a year, but you don't. So
Yeah.
like that would be the best case.
like one thing I started doing recently and I just never did before was just straight up study solutions, like when I'm like a week out, just so I know the general direction I need to take. Like I don't need to study how it's done, but if I know that this one question is solved with a DP optimally. That's all I need to know. I can figure that in interview. But like, for example, if I'm having an interview at Bloomberg, I would sort it by top 50, and I would just know the common pattern used to solve all the top 50, and at least know it. Like, at least know the pattern. I don't need to know how to solve it exactly, but if I know, okay, this one I could solve with DP, this one's the backtracking, oh, this one's I can solve an O1 space actually. Then I just need to know that at a high level, and I'll just figure it out when the interview comes.
How long did you study for the meta? Like months, right?
It's just because they that's just because they took forever to schedule it. Let's see.
Really? Like you're on site?
Yeah, they were taking forever. I would say I didn't really spend that much time. Let's see. When did I get? I started
heard-
in. Or go ahead.
I heard if you pass the tech screen, you can literally schedule your on site like the week after or something. Like most people just deliberately take a lot of time because they want to prep.
I don't even really think I prepped for meta like that, cause I was doing questions because of my YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But like, I didn't really prep.
So you
for
were
meta that
already
hard.
like at the level you'd say that you could like pass the meta one. So you didn't really need like extra.
Yeah,
okay.
like by the time I got the meta interviews, I already solved over 500 LeetCode questions.
Oh, right. And you just reviewed their like top 50 or whatever it is.
Exactly. So now I just need to focus on, like, there's nothing that I haven't seen. It's more just looking at their questions and just I just started straight doing meta tag questions, but I already knew how to do all the patterns and stuff. I didn't have to like look up arrays and how trees work and like foundational stuff.
Yeah, I feel like the
Yeah.
negative thing about them is like they give you so little time that it's like if you can't figure out a solution like 5 minutes, you're kind of cooked. So a lot of people just memorize. They also don't ask like very hard questions, where I think Google asks harder stuff, so it's hard to like memorize. Yeah, I don't know if they do the 2 question thing. I thought Google just asks you like harder questions overall. Like they'll ask you hards, they'll ask you DP, things like that. And it's hard to
Yeah.
just memorize solutions.
Yeah. Well, they just want you to think fast and then solve the question. And that's kind of really how they even enforce software engineering when you start working there. It's like, who can think fast, implement solutions. Doesn't have to be the most complicated, but they just need you to get a solution going. Yo, Kiro.
Would you say, or
Kiro
was the
hopped in.
person?
This is the guy with the Google coding interview coming up. What's up, man? How you doing today?
Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah, I'm
hop
doing
out
good.
actually.
How about
so-
you?
Okay, peace out, Alpha. I'm good. How about you?
How are you doing? I'm doing good. Just a bit stressed about the interview. From what I'm hearing, everyone's just saying that you should just schedule it earlier than later. That Google's a lot easier. That's what I've been hearing. I'm not sure if that's true.
Like, how cooked are you, bro? Like, you want to run a quick coding interview or no?
I don't think I'm that good right now. It's like 1 a.m. here. Moved
Oh,
to
I
the
see.
East Coast recently. Yeah, I would schedule an interview soon with you. But I know like the well-known data structures like dictionaries and like lists, like it's mostly just like graphs and DP that I'm worried about.
Yeah. Well, they really like graphs and DPs.
Yeah, and when I heard that, I was kind of scared. They gave me a timeline until October 30th, and my friend told me to like get somewhere in the middle. So I'm like October 15 right now.
Like, I still think you're still early. Why'd he say that? Is he an intern or working there?
He works there.
Okay.
Yeah, I met him at orientation, so he didn't decide going. I'm doing a master's program, so
I see.
that's why I'm like, yeah.
So what's the process that you followed so far? Did you get a referral?
Yeah, I got a referral from him.
Okay.
And I was able to get an OA like right away. And then I found a typo in their OA as well, and I reported it, and I got a response back in 12 hours that I was moving to the next step.
Oh, okay. So you think that you got it like the response so fast because you found that typo?
Yeah, mostly.
Nice. So
Yeah, it was like,
yeah, I mean, dude, like 2 weeks to prepare for a Google interview is little, but like if you already have the foundational stuff down, just focus on Google Tagged and looking through the discussions and solving those questions. It really all depends on how comfortable you are with coding. And I have no idea how comfortable you are. I could
Yeah.
put you through some basic tests and have a pretty good understanding if you should move it out or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Yeah,
up to you.
sure. I could reach out. So right now, like the intern process is 45-minute interviews back to back. So they'll be on the same day. And with the 15-minute break in between.
Okay, so just straight up on like if you solve this, you automatically get the job at Google.
Yeah.
What was
So
your
it's high
bachelor
stakes.
degree?
Computer science.
Okay, so you're a master's student. That's pretty cool. So like, so it's not like you don't
Yeah.
know much. Like you've been coding for a while at this point. And pretty, you've worked on some hard
Yeah.
stuff in your degrees.
I'm originally from the Bay, so the move right now to the East Coast just took a lot out of me. So I'm running out of time, I feel like.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
what position did you apply for? They're asking in chat.
Software engineering intern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your strategy so far? I didn't ask you. Like, what are you thinking besides like what I said?
I'm just going through LeetCode Blind 75 and NeetCode 150, and I'm just looking through what I'm having trouble with, which is mostly just like graphs. So I'm learning more about trees, DFS, BFS, and just like getting a better understanding of my fundamentals, reviewing questions I've already solved because I've solved like 70.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like if I told you
and
to
just
implement a DFS on the spot, how long is it gonna take you?
it should be within 1 to 2 minutes because I know like you gotta just like go left, right, and then you're done. Like with recursion.
If I asked you to write a backtracking algorithm, would you be able to do it?
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't know much about backtracking, so I need to look into that.
Okay. Because if you don't know much about backtracking, it's gonna be really hard to understand dynamic programming. Because backtracking is
Yeah.
like the brute force way, and then you just cache. Like if you're doing top down.
Mm-hmm.
So understand backtracking, and then understand the call stack as well, of how that works, and then work
Yeah,
on
because I
something.
heard
Go ahead.
yeah, I heard recently on a reel like someone was asked like to explain how everything worked under the hood. So like more specifics on what's happening there.
Yeah. Like if you're writing a recursive function, and it's calling into the left, like you should understand that like it pauses execution for that specific on that specific line and like goes into execution on like the other function.
Yeah, and stuff like memory addresses and how they're accessed, and, like go one time and stuff. From what I heard.
I think 2 weeks is you just I don't know if I do Blind 75 or NeetCode 150 because those are just basic questions that don't really get
Oh,
asked anymore.
I see.
And some of them are
Yeah, so
ultra
I was
specific.
I see. So I was thinking of buying LeetCode Premium, but I don't know if it's
Bro,
worth it in
buy
this case.
LeetCode Premium. That's crazy
Yeah,
work right now. Like you're gonna
I
get like
really wanted to buy it.
$100,000, $200,000, $300,000 job when you graduate, and you're worrying about LeetCode Premium or not. It's crazy. You have to
Yeah, it's
invest in it.
yeah, and it's like I'm located in the Bay, so this job's just meant for me. Like I'm from the Bay.
Like why would you not buy or unless you don't have money, right? Like can you afford LeetCode Premium?
Yeah, I could afford it. It's just that I was not certain, like, because like I thought we could find like tag questions online on like GitHub repositories and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't find those as some of those go stale and like if you have LeetCode Premium, it's just look for the company tags, sort by frequency. Then you could easily look at the solutions, and the solutions are usually really good.
Yeah, like the
It's,
editorials seem nice.
yeah, it's like I even have premium. I just pay for premium year round just to support. But I like
Yeah,
every time I'm interviewing, I
yeah,
buy
also
LeetCode Premium.
I see that sounds good. So also for everyone else is wondering, I think mostly it's just because of my school that's carrying me right now. Because like I know a lot of people are just like waiting for responses still, and it's like the typo in the school, I guess, right now.
What school do you go to, if you don't mind me asking?
Uh, yeah, I go to Brown and a part in like Harvard as well. So it's just
Yeah.
like they just look at the name. I think that's what a lot of them
Yeah.
do, and I'm not really up to that skill, I think.
I mean, you don't just get into those great schools without being skilled.
Yeah,
Obviously, you're skilled, but like, yeah,
yeah,
you need more confidence in yourself, man. Like, I would say I don't know
yeah.
why your friends rushing you to take this interview right away. I think I would just push it out
Yeah, he's
because
just cracked.
we're good.
Yeah, he's just cracked because he did like 3 internships at Google already. He thinks like it's light work. He thinks like Google interviews are easier than other like
Nah,
classes, on other like companies. So he's like everyone, like all my friends, there's like one Amazon one. He's like, yeah, Google interviews are just easier than other companies. Like you wouldn't have to worry about that.
that's not the case from what I've seen. I've helped
Yeah.
people like do well on their code, like prepare for their Google interviews, and they would tell me what they did. I mean, is it still the case that you don't have to run the code and it's ran on a Google Doc, or like you write in a Google Doc?
Yeah, I think they have their own like website now. It's not like the Google Doc anymore, from what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but the OA was structured that way. They're saying that it might be a similar method, that there might have like their own ID, like controlled environment, but I'm not sure.
I
It
see.
might be Google Docs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if his only reason is that, oh, it's so easy, just do it right away, I don't think that's a good reason. If he said, oh, head count is
Yeah.
drying up, do it right away, I would think about that different. But that doesn't seem like that's the case, because
Yeah.
like I just know that when they hire, from my experience over the years, when they're hiring interns, people are getting their interviews scheduled. Like people are gonna have interviews in November, some in December, January and stuff. It kind of dries up. But like you doing it in October, you're ahead of everyone. That means you're one of the top candidates, and they're interviewing you first before a lot of people. So
Mm.
I think you're probably in like the first wave or second wave of people getting hired, and they're gonna be running interviews for sure in November and for sure in December, because people don't even think to start applying until November and December for summer jobs.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that they're
yeah,
all just saying like all the time they're like, and getting that interview is the hard part, but the interview itself is just easy. That's what they're all saying,
that's
like
what your
the
friends keep
Amazon
telling
friend
you.
I was talking about. Yeah,
Nah,
because I guess they're just cracked. That's why they're like taking it lightly. For me, it's like I have a lot of knowledge to gain still.
yeah, like I don't know. I've seen people get every interview possible and fail them. So
Yeah.
I obviously getting the interview is the hardest part, but when you get an interview, you don't want to fumble it.
Someone said your friend is the broad or something.
Yeah. Like yeah, getting an interview is the hard part. That's why every time I get an interview, I work my hardest to make sure I don't fail it, because I don't know when I'm gonna get that ever again.
Yeah, and I think the hard part for me was also finding motivation and like a lead code buddy, because I know a lot of people already have like mock interviews and people set up. For me, it's just like the move was too big for me, so I'm just trying to adjust with life, and it's like I feel behind.
Yeah. Well, like honestly, if you already did 70 or 100 legal questions, you're probably better than like 30-40% of people. If you get to like 200 to 300, the way I look at it is just the more questions you do, the lower the chance of you failing the interview. So if you did 300 questions, I would say there's probably like a 5 or 10% chance you're going to fail that Google interview. Because a lot of those Google interviews are very common questions. Like they're not going to ask you some random question they came up with that has a weird trick to it. I find them most of the time their interview questions are pretty good. I don't hear people complain about the questions that they got too often.
Yeah. Also, somebody asked if I was doing the intern for masters. Yeah, it's for masters. So I was also worried that it might be more difficult in that regard because I know undergrad is probably a lot more easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like any questions related to the lead code portion? Like do you okay, like what's your strategy now after this conversation? Like what are you thinking?
I'm just thinking of like getting Leak Code Premium first of all, and then sorting it by company questions, and then looking at concepts. I'm not that familiar with like backtracking trees, because trees ultimately lead up to graphs, DFS, BFS, and other like dynamic programming related algorithms that I'm not that strong with.
Yeah. You should yeah. Focus topic by topic and then focus topic by topic, pattern by pattern. So I have some playlists on this, but let me look at it quickly. What topics do I cover? I think for
I
coding
see.
patterns, here I'll show you my playlist for coding patterns because I'm still redoing my. I'll share it in the chat. I have a playlist for coding patterns, but I think the top 6 most important coding patterns are two pointers. So Google, you'll definitely need to know two pointers. They love the sliding window questions. So you need
Mm-hmm.
to understand two pointers, sliding window, the different like depth first search and breadth first search. But when it comes to depth first search, do you know like the difference between pre-order, post-order, and in-order?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and actually being able to implement those because some questions you could really only solve with a post-order, some questions you could really only solve with an in-order, etc. So knowing when to like apply those.
I see. Well, I also recently had a career fair, and then I talked to a recruiter from Jane Street,
Whoa.
and they were really interested with me, and I didn't really know how to like. I have to still like reach out. I was still like scared about the interviews, so I didn't know what to look for in terms of like quant and other stuff. So I'm just trying to catch up with
Yeah. Bro, lock in,
everything.
man. Lock in. Because you're getting those opportunities. Not everyone gets those opportunities. Now it's really on you to just make sure that you can capitalize on that opportunity. So you really need to lock in.
Yeah. Yeah, the Google people also emphasize that they have like limited resources to reschedule interviews, so I don't know if I should reach out to delay it and what kind of like I think I should just tell them I need more time to prepare, I guess.
Yeah, be like, I just moved. My semester's starting. Can I do an October 31st? If not, yeah, I'll just go with my normal schedule. But I've never had a time
Yeah,
where I delayed it and that ruined my chance that I can
I
recall.
see.
Most of the times, most of the times I regret is when I just took it right away without the right preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Good luck.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
gonna go
you.
work on that
Thank you very
weekly
much.
contest.
Drew.
No problem. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, good luck.
All right, chat. Let's look through the weekly. Let's look through the weekly contest and close off the night like that. Then I got work tomorrow. We'll take a quick look. We'll take a quick look. Dude, I think I'm gonna stream on the Saturday, Cyclops. Actually, we'll see. Bro, like chat. All I'm saying is like I just got put on a project with a very aggressive deadline, so I might have to work every Saturday for the next month. We'll see. I hate to do it because I want to stream and do this stuff, but weekly contest. Okay, this was the one yesterday. Let's take a quick look at this question. Is working weekends common at Meta? I don't think it's common. It really depends on where or what team you work on. Probably some teams it's more common than others. Going to work in 15 minutes? Are you from India? Damn, they put an easy question. All right. Solve the daily question. Can you, is it hard? Oh my God. Okay, let me work on this weekly contest 469 first. All right, weekly contest 469. It's already done. So the first question, compute decimal representation. You are given an positive integer n. A positive integer is a base 10 component if it is a product of a single digit from 1 to n and a non-negative power of 10. For example, 530 and 7 are base 10 components, while 5 through 7, well, 2 or not. Express n as a sum of only base 10 components using the fewest base 10 components possible. Return an array containing these base 10 components in descending order. So yeah, what I'm thinking is maybe we can do this greedily. So we're given 537 is a product. Okay. So what's this one? It's a digit and a non-negative power of 10. Okay. So I think this one is like 5. This is a base 10 because it's 5 power 2, right? Or no, what is this? What the heck is this? What's a base 10 component, bro? Is a product? Oh, negative. Oh, so okay, so it's like 5 times 10 to the power of. Okay, it's a product of a single digit. So the first one is 5 times 10 to the power of 2. What's 10 to the power of 2? 100, something like that? Or is it just like, or is it like 1 times 10 to the power of. No. It's 5 times 10 to the power of 2. Yeah. So I think it's anything like. Oh, this is pretty easy. I think anything like anything that's a multiple of 10. Right? So I think if we have a 537, like we can just look at any of these. Like what is the biggest multiple of 10? Like how do we figure out to subtract 500 off of this? Just straight cast a string? Let me think about it. Like how would we know to subtract 500 off of this? Yeah, maybe we just do. Maybe we like mod this by. Let's see. Well, we know that it's 3 digits, so we know it's like 10 to the power of 3 or something. Or yeah, we know that it's like 10 to the, because I think how this one is 10 to the power of 0, this is 10 to the power of 1, this is 10 to the power of 2. So we know the very left is 10 to the power of something. Or sorry, that we know the very left is 10 to the power of 2. So I think all we need to do is based on here, we just do 10 to the power of 2. I think we just move from left to right. I think we just multiply this number by its index. So we say 10 to the power of something by that digit. Like simple math. So for example, this is 10 to the power of 0 times 7. This is 10 to the power of 1 times times 3. Yeah, I think that's as simple as that. So just go like this. And then we say, holy, I haven't done LeetCode in a while. Length of -1. So we start with power like this. Oh no, but it's going to be in reverse. So I think so we have 537. So if we start with a power of 0, yeah, all we need to do is we have result. We might need to reverse this eventually, but what we say is like result dot append int of and string at I. So we convert that times 10 to the power of the power. Plus equals 1. Turn list reversed result. The hell? Oh yeah, yeah, if it's 0, that we don't have to include that. Bad variable names, but like we need to increase the power anyways, but we'll do. Yeah, I forgot about including zeros. All right, that's a good one. Follow up. Do it without converting to string. How do we do that? Dude, I'm gonna ask people this. I feel like some people would fold on that. I mean, I would just right shift it, right? Or like, yeah, mod 10 to grab this 7. Yeah, I'd mod 10 then divide it by 10. That'll get 7. Yeah. I can implement it like that too. All right. Next question. Wait, let me grab some water. Chat, this is the next question if you want to try it out with me. Grab some water. 2 seconds. It's like, I haven't looked at my phone in hours. Let me reply. Yo, y'all like Dave? Who here likes Dave's Hot Chicken? Okay, you're given an array of nums. Split the array into exactly two subarrays. Left, right, such that left is strictly increasing and right is strictly decreasing. Return the minimum possible absolute difference between the sums of left and right. What? If no valid split exists, return -1. Okay. Let me reread this again. Yeah, Dave's Hot slaps. They don't have a Dave's Hot in SF though. So split the array into exactly 2 subarrays, left and right, such that left is strictly increasing and right is strictly decreasing. Okay, I see. So we need to just build 2 subarrays. One is left, one is right. And then we need to minimize the absolute difference between the two. Okay. I see. So for this one, we take the 1 here and then we take the 1, 3 in the other. So the sums of left and right. So left and right. So there's 2 ways that we can split it. We can put 1, 3, and 2, or 1, 3, and 2. Left sum equals 1, right sum equals 5. The absolute difference is 4. Otherwise, yeah, this is the smallest way that we can do it. Okay. So 1, 2, 4, 3. What are the different ways we can split it? Why are they using I there? What does I represent? Oh, you can't reorder. Oh, I see. You're not reordering. That makes it, I think that's easier. Yeah. So we have 3, 1, 2. Like we can't even split this one because if I have 3, if we split it here, this one is ascending. That doesn't work. Yeah, I think we could just brute force check all of them and the absolute difference. Yeah, exactly. It has to form a mountain. Dude, that's a good way to look at it, Alpha. Yeah, see, like, for example, if I had a mountain, right? If I split here, this one's gonna have a less value. And this one's gonna have a greater value because it includes all these ones. So the difference is gonna be, yeah. So I think we can maybe run 2 checks. First, see that it's see that it forms a mountain. I think that works. We need to see that it forms like some sort of mountain where it's increasing then decreasing. And then all we need to do is just find the top. Because if it's ever like increasing, decreasing like this, that'll never work. Because wherever you put it, like if I put it here, this side is not decreasing. If I put it here, this side is not just increasing. So I think all we need to do, I think it's probably as simple as like figuring it out. Wait, strictly increasing? Okay, I think it's as simple as like, yeah, finding where the peak is. And then when I find the peak, I just need to make sure that it decreases from there. So I think it's just as simple as that, like a greedy solution. And if I ever find it like go up and down, and like I think it makes it easier that it's strictly increasing. If I ever see that like if I ever see like the last value stays the same, it's an error. And if I ever see that like it goes down more than once, or like if there's ever like if it ever zigzags or like changes direction more than once, it's an error. So I think we just need to capture the direction, and then like we just need to find the peak. I think no, I don't think it could ever be empty. Wait, why is this so low? Why is the acceptance rate so? I don't think it could be ever empty. You have to split it, like left and right have to be non-empty. It has to be non-empty. It can't be empty subarray. So that makes everything simpler. Yeah, I think we just need to find peak indexes. Yeah, we just need to find peak indexes, but like there can't be multiple peaks. But what if it's just like this and there's just one peak index? Bro, there's so much ways that you can solve this. I'm just trying to like really think about the most simple way that we should implement. Yeah, like this one, if it's just strictly increasing, like we need to find a peak, and it needs to be exactly one peak. Okay, and then we just need to return. Okay. If the length of peaks is not equal to 1, return. So all we need to do is like loop through numbers for I in range. Oh, but we need to calculate the absolute difference. So we need to like actually get the absolute difference of each side. So I think we just create left equals 0, right equals the sum of nums, right? So for I in range length of nums, what we're going to do is we're going to do left plus equals nums at I. And we're going to say the right minus equals nums at I. So that'll like, yeah, this will become 1 and then, yeah. So now we get that. Now we need to see if it's a peak. It can be a peak here. Wait, 1, 2, 4, 3. Why is this not valid? Oh, you're right. Dude, there's edge cases like crazy. Yeah. Yeah, because it could just be like this. That would work. That we just partition like this, partition like that. Or if this is 5, yeah, and then this decreases. Like if I chose 5 here. Yeah, but which 5 would I choose? Look at 10. Or no, that doesn't even matter. you would just have to split it on the 5 there. I mean, that's just like an edge case that we need to capture. Yeah, 1551 is valid. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, how would I handle that? I think we could just keep a prefix sum if it's decreasing or not. So we just say, so we could just cache the results, honestly. So we could just like store, like we can have like, if this is decreasing, we could say decreasing, 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 like a prefix sum. And then like the moment this starts increasing, like we could just put that false. And then we could just store it from this side, increasing, increasing. So at every index, we could just calculate like if I'm here, if I portion here, will it be increasing all the way? Yes. Will it be decreasing to my right? No. Yeah. I think we could just do it with extra space and just calculate like we can have increasing and decreasing like arrays. So increasing. Oh, could we just like, is this valid syntax? Go. Yeah, so we do increasing. So for increasing, there's going to be a lot of code. We can probably simplify this, but we'll go. Find range. If I is equal to 0, using I is equal to if nums at I is greater than nums of I minus 1. So it needs to be greater than before, and the increasing I minus 1 is true. So let's like print increasing. So you can see for this one, it's true, true, then false. That makes sense. Now we just kind of have to do the reverse for decreasing. Yeah, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right. Rookie move, rookie move. Thank you. Greater than last. Yeah, like calculate those prefix sums like that. What? Why is this false? This first one should be. So for decreasing, the first one should, if the I is equal to length of numbers minus 1, decreasing I equals to true. Oh, sorry. So dim. What? Decreasing. So the first one should be true if I is equal to. There's probably a small bug I have here. Oh, I wasn't reversing from the back. Okay, true. Okay, false. So now all I need to do just use those upper extra space for I in range length of nums. Oh shoot, I have to do that like left equals 0. Right equals the sum of nums. Right? So what I'll do is left plus equals nums at I. Right equals length of minus equal nums I minus 1. Or sorry, nums at I as well. If increasing at I we don't want to go all the way up until the end here too, because we need to check. Yeah, I think we could just like go here, but if it's increasing at I and decreasing at I plus 1, then we're gonna do result equals absolute difference of right minus left. Let's go. What? So do we just min? Or what? Yeah, we want to minimize. Yeah, min. Result. Wait, what? Use touch case. Oh shoot. Making some rookie results. If we're minimizing, we're gonna put this float infinity. -1 if result. Use test case. Use test case. Solved. I don't know if I want to do the. Yo, this question is way easier than the last one. Or this. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm not doing this question, man. All right, chat. That was already 3 hours. Had a lot of good conversations. Did a coding interview. Guy did pretty good, but I'm not working on this hard question. Catch y'all in the next stream. Appreciate y'all. Gonna head out. Thanks for tuning in. I'll let y'all know when I'm streaming next. Probably next Saturday from early in the morning next Saturday. We'll see. Let's see how work goes. It's gonna be like on the spot real quick. But have a good night.
This is not my main thing, really I'm a coder. Coffee stains and in my chains, I am such a loner. San Francisco bases got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over. Lico, beast mode, 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 Lico, beast mode. This is not my main thing, really I'm a coder. Coffee stains and in my chains, I am such a loner. San Francisco bases got me slowly taking over. I can't wait to show you that I'm gonna take it over. Lico, beast mode, 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 Lico, beast mode.